Should be good. Alrighty. Rolling? Cool. Mm-hmm. Ben, cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.
Welcome back to Texas.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, it was a last minute thing. I was like, hey, dude, when are you going to be back around, dude? Let's do another podcast. Actually, tomorrow, dude. So that worked out well.
Yeah, definitely.
I really wasn't expected to do much more podcasts this month. I'm still going through a fucking plethora of content I still need to get put out. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I can't. I'd rather have a cachet of a bunch of episodes to put out than none. You know what I mean?
It's a much better predicament to be in and have a lot you got to get through to put out versus having nothing to even edit or get out there kind of deal.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. So, but no, I thought it'd be cool, man, because like I said, this whole year, not that it's been that long, but just this year in general, I've been kind of doing a very similar thing with our podcast as to what you do with your showcases or spotlights. And so I kind of have a whole another level of respect for you and based on how much work it is to do something like that. And on both ends, on the gathering the content side, the traveling side, and when you get it home and you have to sift through it all and try to put together this story through, pictures and clips, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's something like you said, like people don't realize like quite how much work goes into something like that. Not only are you obviously like scheduling this stuff and getting it lined up, but you're traveling somewhere, you're spending like typically most of a day like filming, interviewing, doing photos, doing all these different things you got to like keep track of and pull together. But then you go home and it's another several days of actually compiling this and make sure it actually creates a story from beginning to end and then putting it out there kind of deal. It winds up being it's a lot of effort that goes into something like that.
Yeah,
so.
You know what the worst feeling is when you think you got a lot of what you need. And then you come home and you unload the cards and you look at all the stuff you got. And you're like, this doesn't lead into anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got all this stuff going through your head day of, and you're doing all this stuff. I was like, oh, this is gonna be badass. And you get back and you're like, oh, I should have done this. Or I learned pretty early on that like I do overkill when I go because it's no worse feeling like crap. I got to create something with something I don't have. Yeah. And so I'll do a bunch of like pans of a bike and photos of a bike, and I'm like, all right, I think I got everything, and I'll still go back and do more just to like just to be safe.
Just to be safe, yeah. Like I said, when you came out here and you did the spotlight with us, it was I got to see how you kind of did what you did, and it's definitely a lot of work. I mean, you were here all day. We set up downstairs. Then that was the day we were moving our bike night to a new place, so we were trying out this place before Tuesday. And so you were shooting the bike there. And, yeah, like I said, man, there's a lot to it. But, last time you were in here, you and Grady were in here, you were talking about how you were essentially taking this big jump. You were, quitting the job, going full-time, like creating content, mainly focusing on your Spotlight series, along with providing photography and videography for, many companies. So how has that been on all the fronts? I mean, has it...
It's been good. It's been a lot of work, a whole lot of work. Like it's a good thing though, but it's really allowed me to like, I guess, dive into it a lot more, or improve a lot more. Cause I'm a lot more, I'm living it versus like, hey, I've got this job from like 7 to 6 and I go home from like 7 to 1.
You can do that.
And you're balancing two things. And so you're not really giving it 100%, even though you're working really hard, you can't really give it 100%. So being able to like, kind of push that other to the side and be able to really focus on this for
almost a year
now.
Yeah, because I think y'all came in like either March or April.
Yeah, I think it was like March, April-ish time frame I made like the transition out. And so I think it's allowed me to improve a lot. I'm still learning and trying to get better, but it's allowed me like I'm fully focused on that now. Yeah. And so I think as a result, like my end product has improved a lot over the course of the last year. Like,
that's kind of the thing, right? It's like, and people have been asking me. It's been a common thing that I've been asked whenever I do interviews. Like I'm on someone else's show. It's like, hey man, so we're hearing that you're getting out of painting and stuff like that. It's like, it's not so much that I'm getting out. It's just that I want to take this podcast to another level. And right now, it's like I got 1 foot in and 1 foot over here, and it's really hard to give this 100% attention and fully see what it can develop into if I still have like, because custom paint is like, it's not a 40-hour work week. It's like an 80-hour work week. You know what I mean? And I'll be fair, I haven't been putting in 80 hours in a while, so I'm like doing 2 weeks is basically 1 week worth of work for me. So it's just been tough, and I want to grow the podcast. Like I said, we got the new cameras. They look so much better, but I'm still like, you know what? The biggest issue I've been having on these last podcasts I've been doing, because of all these long ass cables, there's a latency between when it connects the audio and the video. So in post, you got to realign all the audio, and then sometimes it took me like 3 days to try to figure out how to solve this sorta, and I still didn't with this Scott Takes podcast I just released yesterday. The first of the video is good, and throughout the video, it loses it's like it's not lined up anymore.
Yeah, that's one of those things you get new equipment. Like you think, oh, this is going to make my life so much easier. It's going to be such better quality, and then you start using it, and there's a learning curve. They were like a new piece of equipment you've got to like stay on top of, and then doing something like especially live is even worse than what I do. But like you're doing all this, but you're having an interview or a podcast, and so you can't see this while you're doing it. You don't.
So the lives, I don't think it doesn't really have that big of an issue. Okay. It's when we go on the road and we're sitting in someone's shop, like I'm just recording to a hard drive. Yeah,
but regardless, like you're there, you would be present there, so you're doing that, and so you don't realize that until you're in post and you're doing all the work, and you're like, oh shit, this is fucked up. I got to find a way to fix it, or this is fucked up. And so,
I did take this play out of your book because the first couple of pods I did this way, I had a camera on me and a camera on you, kind of like how we do it in here, right? And what I realized was so weird, and especially was weird to me, is like, I'm like, oh shit, the camera's on me, let me change it. As opposed to, I went to like a camera on you and then a camera on both of us thing, and I feel like it's a much more better way to do it if I'm playing with the cameras. Like right now, Jaden's in here running the camera, so it doesn't feel that weird to like hit a button to look at me. You know what I'm saying?
That's weird, but if you're trying to like conversate and do that at the same time, it's weird. Yeah, so that's the thing I have the luxury of. I'm not doing it live, and so I run the 2 cameras. I'm wanting to get to like a third eventually, but then I do all that in post of when it's talking. So I do it there. It's a little more work. And I've tried a couple of things out. Like there's multicam that I've tried doesn't work great for me, and some stuff like that. It makes it easy to change, but more or less it's all manual. So.
Well, with the way you're doing it, because like when you guys do y'all show, you don't have microphones that are visible. You don't have a table. You don't have all this stuff that, at least here, like I could put the switcher right here and it looks like I'm grabbing a beer and just switch it real quick. But with you, it's like y'all are kind of all exposed on the show. And so it makes sense to kind of just have it all where you do it in post. And I mean, some people, I don't know if people, I get a mixed signals when people say, like, some people like the fact that our podcasts are sometimes 3 hours long, mostly 3 hours long. But if I had to go do a 3-hour podcast and literally cut each thing back and forth, there's no way.
It would take you forever to put. You'd be doing like one a month, kind of.
One a month, yeah.
Because it would take that much time and edit that,
Yeah. 100%. So that's a crazy one. So how do you go about planning a trip as far as like to do one of these spotlights? Like, I mean, do you think about it in terms of like, let me do this? Do you have a time frame that you have to do it within, or do you try to like, all right, I'm going to go to Oregon. How many can I do on the way there and back?
Oh, no, usually with me, I'm trying to like, so I have a list of like people or bikes I've saved that I want to do. And so a lot of times I'm reaching out early on, like well before I do them, to see if they're at least interested in. Yeah. And then you got to coordinate days. And I try and coordinate like regions. Like, hey, like I'm going to Austin this weekend. And so I'm doing 3 there. And so no, going in, like I coordinate like, hey, like, all right, what's your schedule that weekend? Like which day can you do? Because I'm going to need you to like commit a good part of your day to this. And once they've committed, I like line them up. So I go and I know like, I'm doing these 3. Yeah. These 3 or 4 or whatever. I think the most I've done on a trip is like 5. And so no, it's like set days. We're just like going and doing as many as I can. Mainly because I need people to be willing to give me a good like probably at least 6 hours. We can talk about like setting up, filming. I need you to give me time to like do pans for like intros and stuff like that. I need you to give me time to take the bike somewhere or whatever so I can do photos. Do a photo shoot, And so usually I plan specific days for people and then just hop on it that way. And then like obviously coordinate timing and then giving them like, hey, these are probably the topics I want to talk about. Like, don't rehearse your answers, but like at least be thinking about that so I don't ask you a question. It's not like deer in headlights kind of thing.
Telling people what we're going to talk about.
So early on, I only started doing the topics recently.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people are great. It doesn't matter. Like Corey from Main Drive, dude's just like he's on top of his shit.
Yeah.
He's like super articulate. Like he was just dude just did
I
his thing.
got to stop bringing him on the podcast because he's gonna take my job.
Yeah, he was great. And then some people that are more like me, like they're not like
Yeah.
me having an idea going in, it like helps me out a lot. I can at least like think about it. And so it's just like it's different people, like works for different folks. And so I've at least like, hey, like these are probably the topics like high level. So like don't rehearse your answers, but I'm probably gonna ask you something along these lines. So like just so you have an idea. That kind of deal.
You've also kind of like you started mainly talking like the spotlighting the bike, running through the whole bike, talking about all the different parts and maybe some of the thought process as to why they went with those parts. But you've also kind of started to lean a little bit more into their personal, like who they are, which I think is a very important thing to also have in a spotlight of a bike because it might help tell the story better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the story. That's 100% it. So like initially I went in like, hey, like 10 to 15 minutes, let's just go in. Like this is the bike, this is the idea I have for the bike, these are all the parts and why I chose those parts. And after like 4 or 5, I feel like that kind of gets stale because it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but I want to know about this and that. And then these bikes all have these cool stories. These people have all these cool stories.
FXR Hans, dude.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah. So I want to tell like a complete story. So to do that, you need to get into all those different details that person has about their history, about what led into the bike before you even get into the bike. And then that obviously leads to having like, I think most of mine now are usually like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I noticed it kind of jumped up higher. I haven't fully got through the entire Forever Rad one that you just released, but you were just talking before we turned the cameras on and just like first off, we got to give Kyle a shout out. Like he's always been a pretty good guy to have on a podcast or anything. He's very articulate as well, but he's just getting polished now. Like I feel like he's just got all the right answers, and
he was great. I thought that was one of my better interviews today. And I think a lot of that is attributed to him because he was ready to go and like he was articulate with what he had to say and like got his points across. I mean, I think that's a big part of it because ultimately like a podcast is a lot more like conversational. Like you're making points, your guest is making points. It's a lot more like that long. It's got to be. Where mine, I'm more or less just trying to give people a platform to like get their story across. Yeah. So I want to like generate questions for them and kind of keep the conversation going. But other than that, I kind of want to just like give them the platform, let them take over kind of deal. Yeah. Versus like me saying a whole lot, mainly because I don't have a whole lot to say, I guess. Yeah. And so that's a lot of it. And so when you have somebody like Kyle that get on there and they're ready to go and they know what they want to talk about and they have their points to make and
I mean the shots look good, like the whole I mean his shop's so big it's easy to get that whole like kind of like how you can see it's a little blurred out here in the cameras. In that you get that good like separation between the background, your subject, and it kind of I don't know why that feels better to look at that than
it creates like layers. It's just like it's just like a photo. Like if you have like those layers, like foreground, your actual subject, and you have like background, and you have all these different layers. It's more visually appealing. So
exactly. And I think that that's kind of like the direction that podcasting has been around for a long time, obviously, and now it's going. It's even getting more. I mean, every year there's like another wave of people in the motorcycle scene that gets into podcasts. Let's just say every year there's 10 more people, right? And then by the end of the year, maybe 2 stick around, right? And I'm seeing more people reaching out wanting to get into the video space, in which, I have no problem helping them out with everything I've known because, let me tell you, there was for someone that works on bikes and paints bikes, like trying to figure out how to make all this work is a lot of trial and error. And trial and error in electronics means I spent a lot of money down this road and it didn't work, so I had to go that road and spend a lot of money. And then it's not like buying a fucking, a helmet that doesn't fit and you can just put it online and sell it. Like I'm weary when I buy electronics online. I don't know if this is a legit story or if they just like doesn't work and I'm gonna buy it and you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of trial and error and you spend that much money in it, you're kind of stuck with it kind of deal. And so making it work.
Yeah, it's 3 years. It's been this month will be 3 years since the first video podcast we did.
Okay.
In here, and I think the first one was the first video podcast we put out was Danger Dan. I think so. That was pretty cool because he was the one that got me into podcasting and stuff. So, you ever thought about going down some of the chopper guys' worlds?
Yeah, I've been wanting to get a little more into choppers. I'm doing a panhead this weekend.
Okay, that's right.
And so I've definitely wanted to get more into that. And obviously, I did Jake Kennard's his chopper, Lefevre Cycle. He had his twin cam chopper. And then I did two early on were with Jake from Highwayman Co. Out in Oceanside. They're not super great quality, but like the interviews are great. Jake was awesome, like the amount of information he's throwing out there, but like from a like production standpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was back up at Kyle's this weekend picking up my bike, and I went to Cycle Showcase or whatever up there.
Yeah.
And they had some amazing choppers there. Was it Nightfall Customs had a awesome like D-rake like turbo chopper.
I don't know who that is. Nightfall Customs.
That's the first time I'd seen him there. He was there, and then there was another. There were a bunch of awesome bikes there, and they were like, but there are two choppers. I'm gonna reach out to them, see if they're up for doing it again, because I definitely like to do more of that. Kind of like broaden it a little bit. So
we were talking about earlier about how like not as a bad thing, but it feels like sometimes you get a lot of the same story within the same scene.
Yeah.
So kind of stepping out into these other scenes, kind of what have I enjoyed it because I've been reaching more into the chopper space lately, and I feel like it's just kind of another perspective that I haven't been hearing regularly. You know what I mean? And it kind of just helps kind of keep things fresh, especially on this end of the table when I'm like absorbing everything they're saying and stuff. You know,
yeah, it's a different point of view you could entertain, and that makes things interesting, keeps your motivation up. That kind of 100%.
I really wanted to go to the Cycle Showcase thing. Kyle was asking me about going when he was here for Born Free Texas, and it just snuck up, man. Like same thing with Mama Tried this weekend. It just all snuck up so quick, and I'm busy as hell. I'm sure everybody else is too.
Dude, that's one of the big things starting this is like how busy I've been. And you're like, oh, there's all these events or things I want to do. And like you kind of plan them out, and then before you know it, they're on top of you and you can't make it and that kind of deal. And then you're also managing your time between going to do like interviews or like podcasts or whatever with what events you can go to as well. So
yes, same thing with me. It's like whenever someone reaches out for me to be on their show, I always make it kind of a priority because it's kind of like, as someone that asks people to be on my show, like I love whenever I get that feeling of they're making it a priority to make it accommodating, right?
Yeah.
So I usually try to be that for the people that ask me to do things for them, and other than that, like I didn't plan on doing any more podcasts this month, other than the ones I already got recorded. Maybe thought about doing one to kind of promote the camp out before I hit the road, but I don't think we're gonna do that, and then. We'll do that when I get back, basically. Yeah. And fuck, dude. You ever look at the year or a few months ahead and go like, I'm self-employed, but I am basically a slave to myself for the next 4 months, like until I have like a weekend that I can actually call my own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. There's no off days anymore when you're self-employed. Yeah, 100%. Like I think when I started going full time, I was like, I also have a little extra time for doing this and that kind of deal, like other stuff, and not at all.
What do you think's been the hardest thing, like the hardest part of what you do, aside from the actual editing and things like that? But like, is there any other hard obstacles that you kind of dealt with? Has it been kind of booking? Has it been coordinating? Has it been
really it's making time to get all the actual work done with managing all like the travel time. I haven't had any like major issues like getting people on the show. Like I've got more people I want to do than I can make time for right now.
Good. Yeah.
But I'm not putting out nearly as many as you do. I do typically, I think, average like 2 or so a month. But really it's just making time because all the travel. Like I went to Vegas and wound up doing 2 interviews with like Massaros. We were supposed to do 4. Those 2, Junior Rasper, and then Emma had 1, and 2 of those for legit reasons had to like cancel on us. And so you spend 2.5 days getting there. You film. We were there for like 2.5 days filming and stuff, and it's like 2.5 days getting back.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole week before I even really get into the legit work part of doing the videos to get them out, kind of deal. So that's really been the biggest thing, is making time to get it all done and out.
Do you find yourself enjoying the traveling and doing the videos part more than the coming home and actually having to make them a reality?
I don't know. I enjoy. It depends. Some videos feel like more like work than others, and that's usually because like if I get in a situation where I didn't do something right or didn't get enough of something, and I'm having to make something work that shouldn't work, kind of deal. But no, I like traveling a lot, kind of deal.
Yeah, same.
So I love like disappearing for a couple of days, and like lot of times I'll turn them into road trips. Like I did go to California and Phoenix, like when I did FXR Hans and the guy Eli and Oceanside and stuff like that. And so I took like 2.5 days getting out there. And I would just like sleep in the truck and stuff, but like it gives me a chance to like do other kind of photography, like finding abandoned buildings or like that trip. One of my favorite shots the whole trip has nothing to do with motorcycles. Is I found some random like abandoned gas station in Arizona.
Nice. Yeah.
And so I got up like ass crack of dawn, like awesome, all the, like the sunrise colors.
That's the kind of shit I've been wanting to do, man, so badly, you know.
And so it's a lot of fun. It requires like a lot of nights in your truck and shit like that. It's not so fun, but you could do a lot of other cool shit. So
did you?
Yeah, you mentioned Emma a minute ago, and obviously all the time goes into it. Has that been a strain at all? The more you do, and the more it seems like you want to grow, the more you have to put you get home, but then you've got the hours on the computer and.
Oh no, not really. Emma's like 1,000% behind this. Like I think she wishes she had more time to like contribute, but she's super busy with her own job, even though she still tries to do some of her interviews. But no, she's 1,000% behind it. She's able to go like a decent, like she's meeting me in Austin this weekend to help out. So she's able to go to a decent amount of them, and then she works just as much as I do. So no, she's 1,000% behind it. And like,
would you say that to the average Joe that's like, oh, I want to be a videographer? Would you say that's one of the in addition to the equipment and the money and all this other stuff, you better have your home situation, your scene control locked down?
You think a bike habit is expensive?
Exactly, because sooner or later it is. I mean, it is. It's all time. And if you get home and all of a sudden she just wants to hang out, she wants to watch an episode of whatever. And I got to edit for the next 4 hours.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to like manage your time and I guess make quality time and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And like your work can't be your whole priority if you want your home life to be good, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so we both make time to do that. But no, it's great. She's 1,000% behind it. And we're on the same page, so like there's no issue. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, it's definitely like anything else. Like you got to put work in your relationship too. And so like if I completely ignored her and just did my thing, kind of deal, and just like you go over here because I'm doing my thing. That would go poorly. But
it's always seemed like y'all travel together all the time, and so that's always like. That to me, that like she's still a part of everything. Yeah, you know what I mean. 100%. Like it comes off in the videos too. You know what I mean.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be as far along as I am today without Emma, kind of deal. There's no doubt there because I mean she's great. She's a huge help when she's able to come to. Like she can monitor stuff that takes my mind off of things, and she's also got I think I mentioned this the last podcast. Like her father was like a professional photographer, and so she's got, even though she doesn't do a lot of photography stuff herself, she's got like kind of like a little bit of like the creative eye. So like we'll be doing stuff. She'll be like, hey, what about this? Or hey, maybe try that kind of deal. And so no, she's a huge help. She's 100% behind it. And
yeah. It's you were bringing up like going and taking pictures of other things. And that's kind of, so this trip that I'm going to do up north, it's like the first night, like I'm going to drop my son off at his mom's house and then literally just keep going west. Mm-hmm. And my goal is to get to, was it Tucumcari? No,
Tucumcari, New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico, that's one, right? Yeah. I always get Tehachapi and Tucumcari mixed up. So I want to go there at night, and I want to try to shoot some of the Route 66 like neon signs and shit like that. And why? I love that shit. Like I love that awesome, long exposure, fucking shooting. You know, like I got a really good thing of this theater we have in Dallas called the Kessler. And I blew it up, stuck it in my living room. It's the kind of shit I put in my living room. My wife's not going to be put bike photos up and shit like that. You know what I mean? So, but do you think that like having these other like photographic, like wanting to shoot that kind of stuff actually like transfers into like your other work, or is it just like a balance of like not being over inundated with motorcycle stuff?
No, I don't know. I think to improve as like a photographer, videographer, whatever it is, you need to be able to like expand and try different things and like use different creative outlets. Because I mean, shooting like old signs or abandoned buildings or like portraits or whatever it may be is like going to force you to think differently about your subject and how you're shooting things or how you're lighting things or that kind of deal. And maybe there was something you would have never thought of because all you shot is motorcycles or whatever. And now that you've done this other stuff, like, hey, I can probably bring this. I need to do this for that. And so I could probably now bring this over here and like use it a little bit there as well. Yeah. So I think if you're going to grow as like a creative, you need to be able to try different avenues. And
there's this photographer, I think his Instagram name is like Godspeed or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think he's out of New York. He does a lot of like I want to say it's film, but he does a lot of motorcycle, like chopper scene and shit like that. And I don't know if it's like all candid style shooting or if there's some of it staged or not, but like there's an art to that shit. Like an art to just getting the natural shit that's taking place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And his work, he has these books. I'm actually about to buy some of them. They're kind of like photo books, but it's kind of hard to explain. I was down at the Revival Cycles a while back doing the podcast, and they had them in the shitter. And so I'm like, you know, looking at them. I didn't have to poop or anything, but I was just in there looking at them. And I just kind of, like, I'm in love with that type of photography. You know what I'm saying?
mean, to be able to, like, capture those moments, like, that's definitely, like, a skill as a photographer that a lot of photographers have and, like, some of us don't have kind of deal.
Yeah.
To be able to, like, capture that.
So, yeah, it's just like a lot of different style, like more natural element.
Okay, yeah.
And
Did you think we were gonna poop shame you?
yeah, someone else's shop. Hey, man.
I've traveled this country all over, but you've had no hesitation to shit anywhere across this nation, coast to coast. Why are you acting like you didn't take it? He took a bad dump. Is what happened. He blew that thing up, huh?
Yeah, I had Chewy's right before it.
I went to pee. I just happened to look at the books on the way out.
Yeah, I would have been here sooner, man, but I just got the magazine collection in here is fire, bro. Like I just got captivated, you know what I mean? But no. But I like that stuff, and I always look for, you know, a lot of times like you know, you look for inspiration outside of the world that you're in. Same thing like you know, going into YouTube, which I've still haven't fucking made a real jump into it. And big shout out to like Wheelo and My Machine and stuff. They're out, they're doing something right, and it's dope. I fucking I spent a whole week around the whole week of the shop, right? Video and all this stuff, and then I put it all in a thing. I had like 45 minutes of footage, and I'm like, what ended up being was there was like a lot of, all right, so I'm about to go in the booth and paint this helmet, and we're gonna do this, and then come back then the next time I turn it on, all right, so I painted all this, so there's no actually me doing any of this shit. It's just me telling them what I'm gonna do, and then I don't show what I did. It's just like
That kind of, I feel like that kind of filming in like a video is actually really tough to do.
it is.
Like, because you got to make sure you have doing stuff, but then it's just, you wind up a lot of like selfie talk and like, it's really weird. You got to make sure you're still able to tell a story. Like, I feel like that stuff is hard. We've tried to do like some behind the scenes kind of stuff. Like we try to do with our trip to Vegas. We try to do it on a trip to Texas when we did Corey's and stuff video. To kind of do like a behind the scenes deal.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And I've like pulled the footage a couple of times to try and start doing something with it. And I'm like, I don't know how to make this a video. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this. And so I feel like doing that kind of stuff is, I don't know, a little more difficult.
Sometimes I feel like it would be easier if I didn't. I think maybe, and this might sound like a dig, but I don't mean it to be. Like maybe like Wheelo getting into it and just doing it and not having like any prior experience like shooting photos or really any other kind of videoing. It's just like, fuck it, this is what it is. So it's not like, I've always felt like I can do better. This isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's a big part of it. It's just like starting it. Like when I started mine, I kept like putting it off, and then Grady was finally like, hey, let's just do it. You just need to do it versus like talking about it. And like those first ones I feel like are pretty bad, mainly because super critical of myself. But like if you don't start, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the biggest differences between putting out a podcast and putting out a video is when I put out a podcast, I don't have to listen to the entire thing in its entirety to edit it. I do when I do a video. And so
Multiple times.
40, 50 times per, little clip and whatnot. And next thing you know, it's like, you get very self-conscious, very critical of yourself on that. You know what I mean? On a podcast, like, I'll jump into different parts where I see like the audio spikes and just see how it sounds. And then that's it. Like I'm not cutting out the ums and the likes and the eyes or all the other shit. Right. So, but like I said, it's been easier to do that, to just put out an audio podcast and just do it live where I don't have to edit this video. This is live. It's there forever.
Your work's done once it's over.
My work's done.
Yeah.
So now going and videoing, even like the video like we've been doing the road, it's like the video itself of back and forth is kind of done. Sometimes we'll get up and take a bathroom break, so I got to cut that part out or some shit like that. But all the shit in before it. Like my goal was to do this Iowa trip and start with like each beginning of each podcast would have a little bit of the footage of there, but also a little bit of footage of me on my way getting there. So yeah, about to go to fucking so-and-so. We're going to do this. And I realize I cuss a lot too, which on YouTube, when you're making videos, it's not really ideal.
Yeah, you realize you have all those weird little. You don't realize you have weird little sayings and like text and shit till you start like listening to yourself. Like,
what do you think yours are?
So I didn't realize how much I said and I said I've tried to get better at it, but I said like a gazillion times. I say 100%. Like
100% of the time.
It's ridiculous. Like if you did a drinking game out of me saying 100% on a video, you'd be dead when the thing was over, like without a doubt. And so it's little shit like that kind of deal.
I remember we were at Jaden's pool once, and Evan is cowpoke, right?
Yeah.
He was in the pool, and he was. I give him this. He was getting on me, and he said, "When Jay says, 'Here's the deal' on the podcast, you better fucking listen." And there's like all these like comfort words that you end up saying over time, and you just don't really pay attention to it. You know what I mean? Because you're in this conversation, and it's a really good conversation when you stop thinking about the cameras and you're just engaged, right? And if you think about it, how much I could be stepping out of line here, but how much do you really think in life you have this in-depth of a conversation with somebody else without any other distractions?
Probably not very often, to be honest. Not because you got to sit here for this long and actually legit talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a weird thing to do where you kind of get, I don't know I wouldn't say you get like trapped in any of that, but you're not thinking like, oh shit, I need to stop saying but and like and
Yeah. Exactly. Mine, I need to like, I've had to learn to like shut up when people are talking to me. Not like I don't talk while they're talking, but I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I do that too.
And like that's been the worst thing. And so I go back and I watch the edit. And I'm like, man, like shut the fuck up and let them talk. And that's.
Well, on that note, it's one of those. I do that too because when you're sitting here in this doing this, and you're telling me a story, like what I need to be doing is like just nodding. Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, for sure. And next thing you know, someone's in their car just listening to like this speaker's got this good saying, and he just hit like a and a okay, 100% coming from over here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So I'm trying to along these same lines. I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put out like a. I don't know what I'm gonna call it yet, but like a different series of videos, kind of covering the same topics, but in essence, taking myself out of it. And so it's just the person talking about this. I'm still interviewing them, but I'm out of the picture. It's a lot more work because it requires a lot more like video and photos and stuff like that to overlay and like put a story together.
Yeah, that way it's just not a stagnant shot on that person.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of like watching a lot of car videos. Like Stinger has a lot of videos like that, like when they have like some of their builds, level Porsches or whatever. And it's just one guy talking the whole time, and they're constantly overlaying all this video footage and photos and stuff like that. And they're badass. They're like next level quality, which is kind of something I want to get to. And anyway, I was over at Boosted Brad's week before last, working on one of these, and I was doing that. And I realized like halfway through one of his answers, I'm sitting there going, yep. And so these people are going to get all this, yep shit. And there's like nobody else even around, like when you look at it on the camera. And so, yeah. Figuring out shit like that has been a pain. And those ticks are like, if you have like a camera issue, that's a problem. You can work that out using like 2 or 3 videos. But that kind of stuff where I'm 39.
Conditioned,
I've been developing that shit for 39 years. And so to like get that out of my system that takes work.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the things that so when you're doing your stuff, I mean, like you just kind of brought up, you have all these ideas of where you want to take it. Do you ever worry like going there, I guess it's not a worry, but you want to make your show better, right? And sometimes do you feel like maybe you might go this way and it didn't make it better, so you got to come back to zero and then start again, or that type of stuff? Or
I mean, I think I've done a couple of minor things that I don't think work, and so I changed it kind of deal. And so I'm constantly trying to improve, and so I'm definitely like my harshest critic. And so I try not to worry too much about like, obviously you're human, you can't just completely ignore people. Like what people what people are going to say is going to affect you. But for the most part, like I kind of have a vision in mind, and I'm just trying it and seeing if it works out kind of deal, and just trying every video improve something. And I don't worry too much about like if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
usually when I try something, I've convinced myself it's going to work. It doesn't mean it's going to, but I've at least convinced myself.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a lot of, I don't know, self-doubt and stuff like that in terms of when I'm trying something kind of deal. So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm with the podcast, like over the years, like I was actually talking with our boy Chance, East Texas Chance, earlier today, and I was telling him how like we had randomly a 2-hour phone conversation today. I was telling him how like over the years, like how do I word it? Like, so Jaden's a common person on the podcast now. He's on it a lot, right? But if you scroll back to like the first 100, 120 episodes, and you were hearing FXR Mike, T-Bar Jesus, with Mark Matthews, a lot of these other guys much more regularly. And then as like all this friends group grew, and some of these guys got more, I wouldn't say better, but just more capable of doing the podcast stuff and us generating content out of it, I kind of lean into that. So like we'll have our guests that come in out of town, but for a long time, with us doing 5 episodes a month, you might get 2 episodes of us talking about a pre or a post trip or coming up event. But then you'd have like, reason why we started doing like the Quaint Zone, and we used to do something called the Cold Snacks. You remember that back on Patreon back then? I don't know. Like I feel like we go through these waves of like that kind of stuff where you have, I guess my show is so much different than yours because we rely on conversations and multiple guests and stuff, as opposed to like there's not a bike in here, right?
Yeah.
Sitting up, that'd be badass if there was, but
It's like on a wall, man.
yeah, let's fucking set it right here.
Right. Yeah.
But no, it's, I don't really know where I'm going with that. I was just kind of getting at a point where it's like we've been, like I lean into like the people that I have around me to kind of create characters out of them.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Rogan has his Kreischer and, Protect Our Parks. Like he has his guys that come on, and when those guys are on, it's just friends talking and having a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you thought about doing anything more on that level of?
Not especially, mainly because I don't know if I'd have time to do that. I mean, I know a lot of people I've had on my show already. I've had on multiple times, even though there's only 42, and I expect them to be again because they continually build bikes, and so I'm sure as I do more of that and people are repeat guests, we'll probably develop a little bit of that. But I don't know, like just based on like the quantity I put out, I don't know if I'll quite get to like a super level having that, just because I don't think I'll ever get to. Hopefully I'll get big enough. Maybe eventually I'll have like a team one day, and there's like 2 or 3 of me doing this, and so I'm able to put out a lot more.
Yeah.
But as long as it's just me, I don't see ever being able to do more than like 2 a month, especially as I keep trying to up my quality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be a little prohibitive of like getting too much of that.
Yeah, you just start a whole media channel.
Yeah, you could do something, especially if it was all people that have already been on and know you. You could do like a Bent Moto platform
round table at the end,
at
or
like
something.
an event where everybody's going to be there, like a Mama Tried or a Texas Born Free, something like that, where you're not going to have these dudes and reach out to 3 or 4 of them, get them on, and kind of moderate a conversation, podcast,
Maybe
whatever.
it's a little more like
something
podcasting than like
but-
an interview thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just builds on, obviously you've got your, all your camera skills that you build into it, but as your interview skills continue to progress too, that's something that you could moderate, hold on, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if not, I know somebody that could do it too. I'll try.
No, that's another thing. Like,
But it's just part of to what you were saying earlier, the creative, I think what Jason was getting at, just the creative process of wanting to switch things up sometimes and just, not getting stuck in the same, not to me that's a negative, but just.
Yeah. You want to like.
Yeah. Always
grow and
testing
try
new
different
waters
things, yeah.
and just feel, finger on the pulse kind of thing.
I like to always look at it like this: if everything's going well right now, then that's when I need to figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're not pushing yourself like to where you're a little bit out of your comfort zone, you're not really growing.
Yeah, because that next thing it needs to bring more value to what you do, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come in, is because, like I said, the thing is the whole spotlight series is just, you see the progress, and that's like one thing I hate when people say to me, and this is what I'm not trying to say to you, is I hate when people go, "Man, you've came a long way." To me, it's like
fair.
a backhanded question, like a backhanded compliment. Like, fuck you, dude. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, I've always been great. You know what I mean? Nothing like that. But I just always felt like that was like, a backhanded compliment, more or less. But because I know if you listen to my early podcasts, the audio wasn't as good. My ability, which I'm still very far from being a great interview, but I'm definitely better than I was on episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the same thing with you, like with the channel, with the way that you put it together and show the world, the questions, all that stuff. I mean, you're self-conscious enough to where you're constantly making it better. You know what I mean?
No, I don't take offense to that at all. I agree with you. Like I said, I'm probably my worst critic, and so like I watch some of my early stuff, and it's just like, fuck, that was horrible. How did anybody like watch this shit? And so like it's definitely getting better to putting in more work. And I agree. I agree with you.
I feel like I'm getting to a really soon. I'm getting to a point where I'm going to have to legitimately put half of our collection of podcasts behind like a Patreon or something like that. Not just because like I feel like there's things that's been said over the years.
Dude, like a double Patreon. Maybe we just need to be pulled.
We might just
come to the camp out. We'll tell you all about it.
It's just like some of the things that like I never really gave a shit about, like some of the things we said on the podcast early on. But we're talking about 5 years now. The climate, the world is different now. You know what I mean? And I feel like as we grow this thing, and I'm trying to get into like the spaces of bigger and bigger names, you know, like all it's going to take is one intern that works for this company that's going to go through and scrub my work.
You got to be aware of like what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure like what's out there that people view you by is like how you want to be seen. Otherwise, like somebody that's new to Jason Fast Life might go watch something from like 5 years ago, and that's their first episode, and you're like,
what's this
kind of
dude?
deal?
Yeah.
So I get that.
That's just kind of where I'm at with that. Is like I just feel. I mean, the podcast apps, like your Spotify's and Apple iTunes and stuff, they archive your episodes at like I think 50 or 70 back.
Okay.
So you would have to go to YouTube or like our website to see those anyway. But yeah, some of them, man, I don't know, man. Like, and I never really paid attention to it till me and Jaden started doing the podcast origin stuff where we were kind of talking about like the behind the scenes of those. And so I would go back and I listened to a couple, like a little bits of them, and I'm like, fucking first 15 minutes, I'm dropping the F word, the bad one, and just all this shit. I'm like, naturally, I've grown, and I don't. Every once in a while, that comes out here in the pod. I think Kyle said it last time, so point fingers over there at him. But
Kyle's the worst about saying it.
yeah, when he says it, I think he means it though.
Oh yeah, you talking about the R one?
No, yeah,
both of them. Yeah. Kyle's a lot. Kyle still subscribes to like the comedy. But there is, it's some of the stuff we've done. A lot of us listen to comedy podcasts, so you get the mics in front of you. Next thing you know, you're a great value Shane Gillis, or you're trying to be, and you're saying stuff that it's all in fun. You're not trying to, but again, taken out of context, the right time. Nobody's running for public office, but
you never know what mindset your listener is and how they're going to take something.
And it could be it could be a bad look, but
and like I said, we do this live, so
there's no taking it back.
Yeah,
that is a luxury I have. Like I try and film mine to where it's one big long conversation, without many like if there's a pause or stop, it's because I need to look at my notes. Or somebody asked, like, hey, can I say something a little different there? But I have the luxury of being able to cut things and edit. Or maybe that didn't sound the best, so I'm just going to take that whole part out kind of deal. Where if you're live, like, it's out there. Like
exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of that's the only scary part about it, man, is like you're just worried. You never know. It's like you get that big break, and then everybody's like, well, actually, I know we were going to put you up here on the upper echelon of this world, but episode 47, hour marker 4, which, if it's 4, then it means we were fucked up. So
yeah, it'll probably be something you didn't even say. You just laughed at it. It's something I said. You just didn't denounce it immediately.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, dude.
I didn't cancel you for them.
Yeah, guilty by association.
Yeah, and I try to stay away from like certain topics for the most part, just because like I feel like there's certain topics that you should be having discussions with like your close friends and stuff like. Which obviously you guys are on here, you're gonna have those conversations, but like
we work out our problems on this podcast.
Like let's stick to motorcycles and like for the most part, like let's keep it at that.
Yeah.
Let's you want to talk about something elsewhere? Let's do it. But like on here, let's kind of.
You get a bunch of idiots that ride motorcycles that want to talk world politics and fucking solve the world's problems, you know, and it just doesn't really work out too well. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of one of those situations where I'm worried about it a little bit because, you know, I don't want to. It's a balance, right? Because I want to be myself, right? And myself at the time. I mean, I still use that word. Yeah. Fuck it, I still use it every once in a while. If you're being one,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's the every word that you're not supposed to say. People use it 1,000% more than people want to.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like I hear people on podcasts or whatever they're talking about. They literally act like they've never said the N word. Like I heard a comment. He was like, I felt like I needed to say. So he's like real nervous about singing in his apartment alone. And I get the concept. It was kind of funny the joke he was going, but I was like, this isn't the real life. Everybody has said every word.
Yeah.
Like they have. It's nothing you can. We're fucking humans.
Every white kid in America that's a millennial that grew up in the 90s has rapped every word of that song for sure. And looked in a mirror and said it too.
Yeah, dude, they've said it in a mean way. They said it. There's something happened at school. They went home and they're talking in the mirror about it or whatever the fuck they've all said, including the white girls. The white girls, like when the George Floyd first stuff happened, and the ones that would do like the painted fists and that leaned into like the TikTokers and stuff. Those girls have said it more than anybody. Like
100%.
It's just the world we live in now. But yeah, go ahead.
It's a weird spot to be in as like a content creator. It's like a little line you got to walk. You got to be able to like keep it real to where you're not being like some fake and like avoiding all this stuff. But at the same time, you don't want to say something that's going to like fuck you over at some point. So
yeah, it's like, so if you think about it, like we're making content for bikers, right? Mm-hmm. And the biker demographic is such a wide variety of human, mm-hmm. right? So you got your more traditional guys where anything kind of goes and it's expected. And then you got like a lot of the newer, younger people that are, not very versed in the world of motorcycling and just the people in general. And then those things don't really fly with that generation, so, and it's just kind of a weird spot because it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I grew up in a shop full of guys. And I think I said this on a podcast recently, but I remember this week I worked at this custom motorcycle paint shop. They told me at 21 years old, they said, hey man, when we start talking about wanting to fuck your wife, that's when we like you. That's the place I grew. That was working in shops with men. And it's always been that kind of way, mm-hmm. Ever since then, like, every bike shop I've ever worked in, every paint shop I've ever worked in, it's never not been that way. Mm-hmm. It's always been people busting each other's balls, saying some of the wildest shit that they would never be able to say outside of those fucking walls, and seeing how it goes. And then you put a guy like that on a podcast,
like Tony, buddy.
That's why that's why my brother has problems now, because that's how I talk to him. And how I learned to kind of go down this path didn't transcend into his generation at all. Mm-hmm. It just turned into mental health problems for him.
I don't
Poor
know.
guy.
Give everybody long enough time in their lifespan, and I feel like everybody's going to degenerate to
mental health problems.
Well, no, just so everybody's going to say everything. Everybody was that bright-eyed 19-year-old that felt like everybody was equal, and I don't use slurs or whatever. Just live and work long enough, and sooner or later, boop, you're going to find yourself saying, like, it just happened. You didn't wake up that day and go, oh, I think I'm insert whatever ist right now.
Yeah.
But guess what? Something's going to happen. You're going to, oh, that's very, and then boom, there it is.
I knew it was in you.
Yeah, well, you're one step closer to a Fox News person. You're just fulfilling your destiny. Don't fight it. Come on, Anakin, come to the dark side.
Sorry to hijack your podcast.
We'll edit all this out.
Psych.
We're gonna rewind that live there.
Yeah, man, it's I don't know, it's a tough one. But
yeah.
what do you think? how about photography? Like, how has that been for you? Like, you were telling me you've been getting some gigs, and like, I mean, have you figured out how to make money with a camera yet? I'm still trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
I have made money with a camera. I think a lot of it's been luck. I've just lucked into like jobs, like people. I've got a website with like my like portfolio kind of set up that I had to and take away from, and then obviously a little bit on Instagram, but all of that's mostly just pushing like the spotlights now.
Yeah.
And so I've in essence just lucked into a few that way that I've made some money at it. So yeah, I make a lot more money off of that than I do like the spotlights and stuff. So no, that's been good, like a little supplement. And then like obviously some of the guys I do like spotless with have bought like the digitals or they've bought prints and shit like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I definitely made enough, I guess, to like invest in a new camera like a couple weeks ago and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been definitely a good like supplement. And then like doing these has been good practice getting out and like I know I'm shooting at least like 2 or 3 times a month as part of these, so which is always a good thing. So
what I did at the beginning of this year, I decided, which I hate video, like compared to photography, I love shooting. I don't like video the same way, but this year, my New Year's resolution, if you will, is to get over that hump and try to get to some kind of place with videography that is, I guess, it makes me, I don't know, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Trying to get to a point where I feel competent at it.
I feel like that's a big part of photography. You got to feel like you know what you're doing and you feel like you're producing something good to like really enjoy it. Because I feel like I've slowly transitioned. Because when I started these, like I did a lot of photography already, but I didn't do a lot of video. I done little bits here and there. It was definitely still like fairly new to me, which is obvious if you go back and watch the earlier videos. But as I've gotten better, I like the video just as much, if not more than photography. I feel like it's a lot easier to tell a story with like video and putting a couple of clips together than it is like one photo. So
I mean, it's definitely easier for sure, but that's to me, that's always what's the art in photography is. Very true. How do you really capture a whole story in one frame? You know what I mean? But yeah, the whole thing with me is like, okay, well, let me force myself to do this year, but on my terms. I don't give a fuck about reels. You know what I mean? I want to make the videos that I want to make, no matter how shitty they're going to be. And I don't know what I'm going to do with them because I probably won't post them because I'm too self-conscious about it. But
I mean, so if you make a bunch of them, you're gonna improve and get better at it. So
I almost got a whole video of when I did the Terralingua run, and it needs a voiceover right now. That's all it needs. Like, there's enough content, enough video to where you can really make it visually a little bit pleasing to look at, but it needs context, and that's where kind of a voiceover would come in to play.
So, yeah, that's. Actually, when we were here for your spotlight, you recommended the Grainy Days. That was his name.
Yeah.
To me, and so that was one of the ideas I had I had all the behind the scenes footage from our trips, and I was like, this doesn't tell a story. Like how am I going to make this tell a story? And I thought about like kind of setting up some kind of like voiceover thing like that, in essence, to create like a story for certain things. So it's almost like somewhat not an interview setup, but almost like an interview setup where I'm walking people through it, kind of like he does, kind of deal. Since I did such a poor job of like at the time actually recording what was going on.
So that's kind of I tried to do that in one podcast. I did the Colt Wrangler podcast. I didn't, because I didn't get to his shop till after 6, and there was no time to do any kind of filming. It was dark. It was just not going to happen. So, I need an intro. So let me shoot the camera at me. And it's so unnatural for who I am that I'm trying to be this proper fucking dude, and I'm just not that dude. And so, but I'm not comfortable enough just being this, looking at a camera, right?
Yeah,
it's tough, man.
It's weird. Like, so I've done like the little like promos or advertisements that are some of my videos, like Speed Dealers. I was in Kyle's. That was a new one, or like one for Get Lowered, or the one from Thundermax, like way back, and it took me like 2 days to film like a freaking minute-long clip because like it's just talking to a camera and like trying to get it out, get your words out how you want to get them out and sound like articulate, not like an idiot, and remember everything kind of deal. Like staring at a camera is a lot different than having a conversation with somebody. It's tough. Yeah,
like Adam Sandoval, what he does is he wears sunglasses, but And he wears them in this podcast that we just did recently on video. Inside.
I guess that's one way to do it. Yeah.
I wear my
This is my joke, long-standing. Don't take offense. Fuck it. Take offense. Two kinds of people wear sunglasses indoors: assholes and blind people. It's actually not my joke. I heard it somewhere, but every time I see somebody wearing sunglasses indoors, it's the only thing I pop up with. I usually say it to them, depending on where I'm at during the day.
Is just asshole? Blind.
Yeah. No, I just run the whole thing. I go, hey, there's two types of people wear sunglasses indoors, right? Assholes and blind people. Which one are you, or whatever?
I don't see a stick.
Yeah. I don't see a dog.
Yeah, so like I basically, if I could do a voiceover, and what I've been doing recently is like the voiceover thing is easier because I can write a couple things down and say it, and it feels a little bit more natural than if I'm trying to say it and act natural.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and then also, man, like I turn my whole fucking garage into a studio.
There you go.
So, like I have my garage is smaller than this room. Essentially, it's probably like from this table to the wall. And single car garage, but it's a little long. You know what I mean? That's what I always tell her. And and so the back half, I've always had a table where I would draw and sketch stuff out. So I was like, you know what? This video editing stuff is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. So I need to make a space at home to work on these videos, because if I have to be at the shop, I'm not going to do it because, being here versus being home,
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, for being like a creative when it comes to like creating art, I mean, that applies probably a bunch of different things, not just like photography or editing video or sketching or whatever. But I think creating a cool space to do that in is pretty vital, like to put you in the right mindset for doing things. Like a little studio, our spare room downstairs is essence like we've created like a little studio where
that's cool.
I can do all my product stuff, I can do all my editing video and stuff like that. So it's a cool space. You can go down there and kind of get in your little hole and cut on whatever music you want to listen to and just like really focus and get in the zone of what you're doing. And I feel like for being creative, especially with editing or drawing or like editing photography, I think that's a pretty vital key to like setting the right atmosphere to get your work done.
Yeah, originally I was trying to set that up here, but then the more I realized that, like, if I'm here, let's just say I put in like 8, 9, 10 hours painting, and then now I need to start working on this video. Like, I don't like being here unless we're doing a podcast. I don't really want to be here at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? I'd rather go home, have dinner, hang out with my wife for a little bit, and then jump in the garage and start fucking with stuff. You know what I'm saying? That way, it's like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I'm gonna go in, or I'm gonna keep doing it. Right? I was telling Jaden a couple of days ago, it's like I've been on this great schedule, sleeping and waking up at 5:45 every morning, and sometimes working out, sometimes just going in the garage and starting to draw. But since I've been doing all these, like trying to edit these videos, I've been staying up till fucking 2 a.m. again. And so now I'm back in a shitty schedule of like waking up at 9 a.m., and it's just like, it's got me, I don't know.
That's my schedule, dude. I'm so much more productive from like 7 p.m. to like 1 a.m. than I am from like 5 a.m. to like 10 a.m. or something like that. I think it's maybe because I've like trained myself, especially from when I was like working a previous job and I was doing all the editing and like photo work like late at night. I feel like I'm so much more productive during that time period than I am if like I get up early and try to work. Dude. Like if I get up early and try to work, I feel like I like flounder around and I'm not like super productive. Like I get stuff done, but it's like not a lot. But then it gets like in the evening and it's like 7 o'clock or later and it's dark outside. And like I can start cranking and just like churn some shit out and be super productive.
I've always been that way too. I will say that when I started waking up early, so I have like a dumbbell set up in my garage. So my garage is like, it's long, and I have enough room to park my bike. And then there's like these rubber mats I put on the floor where I have like a weight bench and a dumbbell rack. And then there's a space where I have like my desk and drawing stuff, right? And so what started happening and why I started realizing that I think I'm more creative in the morning is I would do a set, and then in between sets, I'd go sit at my desk, and then I'd start sketching, and then I'd be there for 30 minutes. I'd draw a helmet, and I'd be done. I'm like, fuck, like, why do I have this urge to draw right now? And why do I feel like every time I sit down, it's a banger. It's a banger. It's always a banger, as opposed to like sometimes at night, I'll have to drink a beer to calm my nerves, right? And in the morning, I don't have any nerves.
That's fair. Yeah.
So it's like a weird thing, but it's also before the world starts. Like if I woke up at 9 a.m. and tried to do this, there's too much going on. The internet's awake at this point. There's people, there's the group messages are going like at 5:45 in the morning till about 7:38. I just felt like there was nothing else going on, and I felt like it was easier to connect to things like that.
That kind of makes sense. You haven't started putting a bunch of other shit in your brain, and then if you're doing some kind of exercise, which I think is almost like stress relief, kind of like almost like drinking a beer late at night would be, and you're just zoning and focused.
I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying like that has been somewhat of a new thing for me to kind of like unveil, where I do enjoy it, and I feel like I get more done quicker, and then I'm rolling into a day of like productivity of like, okay, I've already got this, and this done. It's kind of like that whole dumbass thing about making your bed in the morning stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, it probably definitely helps, especially you'd probably enjoy the rest of your day too, because you're like, I've already got all this shit done. Now maybe I have a little free time this afternoon, or like you're not sitting there thinking, oh, I got to get this shit done all day. You've already done a lot of it.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
I don't know. It might be full. I might be full of shit again. So
I don't know. Everybody says like, was it like there's a thing about like 7 habits of like highly successful people, and I think isn't like the morning thing one of them, like getting up early,
good morning routines are definitely.
And I fucking ignore all that shit. Fuck mornings.
I'm with you, man. I've not been a morning person my entire life, and I'm starting to kind of like want that more because I've also, I've been self-employed essentially since 07, 08, you know what I mean? In some form or fashion, self-employed. So it's kind of like, while I've always felt like I put in tons of hours of work, I've never been a morning person. I'd rather stay at the shop till 3 a.m. and then come back at 10 a.m. than leave at, 7 and then wake up at 4 and go back to work. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. Like there might be something to it. I'm not rich, so that might be a good way to. Nights don't work as good as mornings, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's like some people are morning. Like Emma's like a super like hardcore morning person. Emma can get up super early. Like she used to compete like in fitness and shit, and she'd get up at like fucking 4 a.m. and go to the gym and all this hardcore stuff. And I'm like trying to fucking get out of bed to get to work on time. And so I don't know. I think it's just the whole, I guess, different strokes for different folks thing. And we're told we got to get up early and get all productive. And I'm like,
it's tough.
I know I'm like I can tell like some days I'll get up early and try and work, and I kind of phone around all day, and then we'll do dinner and stuff like that. And if it's a night we don't have Ava, like I'll go downstairs to do some work, and I just get in the zone and I just like go, and I'm super productive. And so I kind of lean into it a little bit versus trying to force myself into something else.
Yeah, our nights here, like, because usually on Tuesdays we're at bike night, so that could either be at 9 p.m. coming home or 2 in the morning. It really depends. Lately, coming home at 2 in the morning is also with a huge ass fucking bar tab, so trying to avoid that as much as I can. But so usually we have a bike night and then we have a podcast at least once a week. So there's once a week where I'm not going to be home till after 10:30, 11, right? And if I just go to bed right then I still am in that window of I can get up early and be back on that schedule situation. But if I go home after this and then I stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning, then I'm back in this like 9 a.m., which naturally I wake up at 9 a.m. And then, I'm usually out of bed, operating just fine, and then I'm out the door by 10. But man, I don't know, dude. It's weird how like when you work out, you feel so much good after. Like you feel so much good. You feel better after it, right? Yeah. But you don't want to fucking do it the next day at all. There's nothing in you that wants you to do it again. You know what I mean? Like it's a forced thing. It's like, why am I fighting myself to do something that makes me feel better all the time? Same thing with like how I feel in the morning when it comes to doing work. Like there's been times where I would just wake up with no intentions of working out and just going in there and drawing or working on like something on a podcast, like some, I've been trying to write more, write more of what I want to say.
Okay.
To get, I don't know if you ever write much. Do you write much, like with a pen?
Yeah, I had something the other day. I had to take a walk, and I took the same little pad with me and wrote a bunch of shit that I just wanted to, whatever. You just want to get it out, and I just had to write stuff out. It was, I didn't write like a letter to myself or anything, but I wrote.
Dear me.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it helps to get out sometimes. Because
dude,
piece of paper, you can always scrunch up a piece of paper, throw it away, burn it, whatever, and it's gone. But you can. there's something cathartic about writing something out, even if it's the most vile whatever shit you don't want anybody to read, but there's something about putting it out. And
Some kid, instead of finding porn in the woods, he finds a crumbled up paper from
dude, man, just how you want to murder your wife. Hey, take it easy. Don't incriminate me, but just anybody. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's something cathartic about writing.
Yeah, so I've been doing that more. Where I would write out a page. This is what I want to say on this video, and then this makes sense. Let me go on that. And then like the next thing I got like 2 pages that I've written down, and one you realize like fuck, like those muscles hasn't worked in like 20 something years since like you know what I mean. I can do this all day long, but
like actually writing,
and so. But it's also one of those situations where like I've been talking about on the podcast for a while now how I want to write more. I'm dyslexic as fuck, so I sometimes have a hard time reading. Not that I can't read, I have a tendency to rush through things, right?
Okay.
That I'm not interested in, right?
Yeah.
So even if I'm reading a book, which I've tried many times, I probably only read 2 books my entire life, like actually read them through. But what'll happen is I'll read this passage, and this is probably more common than I think, but I'll read a passage and won't remember a fucking thing. Mm-hmm. So I got to constantly go back and read it again and again and again until I feel like I actually read it and paid attention to it. Because I can read and not pay a fucking word of attention to it, just like you can drive and not remember the last 5 miles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I've done that. I do that reading a decent amount. You'll read something, like I'll get through an entire page, and it's like I have no idea what I've just read. That's why a lot of people are like, I don't listen to like a ton of podcasts like yours and maybe like 1 or 2 others here or there, because like I don't feel like I'm productive when I do them, because a similar concept, like if I'm paying attention to what's going on in the podcast, like I'm not getting shit done in work in terms of like editing or anything like that. Especially obviously I can't do it in video because you got sound, but even if it's like photos or something else. But if I'm editing like the photos or whatever, I have no idea what's going on, and I'll tune back into whatever's playing like an hour later, and I'm like, no idea what's going on. So. Yeah.
I usually, like, when I consume podcasts, it's because I'm sitting on the desk out there where I do all my graphic layout, driving, and that's it. That's the only 2 places I listen to podcasts. My shop's loud. Yeah. So with the compressor, with the booth, or with my big heater going, you can't hear shit. So I usually watch the podcast in here. I listen to them on road trips. But recently I've been getting into more audiobooks lately. Mm-hmm. And Rick Rubin was on Rogan's podcast recently, and he's a pretty famous music producer, done a lot of bands and stuff, but he has this whole book out called like the creative process or some shit like that. Like basically what he's done forever is he's helped musicians find their sound and create albums. He's a music producer, right? And so this whole book is about like trying to find your creativity, or how to tap into creativity, right? It's not really yours. It's just there kind of thing. And it's just been kind of like a pretty dope like audio book. I'm not reading the motherfucker, but I've even in the audiobook, I've had to scroll back through chapters sometimes whenever I start thinking about one thing he said, and then I haven't heard the next 30 things.
Yeah, because you're processing something like that. I might have to check that. That's a pretty good idea. Like just like hearing somebody else's perspective on that, especially if that's kind of what they specialize in, especially with like creativity with like doing video or photos or like podcasts. Like it ebbs and flows, and certain times sometimes it's like super easy to like come up with like an intro for a video, or I'm sure it's like topics for like a podcast or whatever, and then other times it's just like a blank wall there and you got nothing. So
one of the scariest things for me about like maybe stepping away from paint as a full-time gig, or inevitably stepping away, I don't feel like the podcast is as creative of an outlet as paint is, which is kind of the bigger reason why I'm scared to leave it, because I have never struggled with any kind of depression or any of that shit. Usually when things aren't working well, it's because of my own dumbass fucking decisions, right? And so, you hear that on there?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I was trying to make it not smell like a bunch of dudes in here.
That's all right.
But I usually would, like always creating and feeling like Jeremy, Lucky Strike, he said this the best. It was like the first podcast we ever did. He goes, this creative process is a roller coaster. It's literally like when you have a project, it goes out, it's received well, you're at the highest of high, right? And then it slopes down, and throughout the whole process of creating the next piece of art or the next piece of content, it's this whole like doubting yourself, questioning your ability, questioning everything in life until it gets back to the top. And then you start to get that, I guess, adulation or people enjoying it, and you get those highs again.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're back on top, and then the process starts over again and over again. And custom painting is like that a lot because, you know, like you're painting these bikes, and is this bike going to fucking like blow people's minds? Is it going to be just swept under the rug? Like, how's this going to go? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Same thing with creating a video. You make, and unfortunately, like the thing that sucks about video creation is like you never know. You can have the best video you've ever done, and all of a sudden YouTube just does not care to put it out there for you, and it gets, like you said, 2,000 views. Yeah. And this other one that you didn't even like, you had no idea. It's like, bam, it goes to the moon. You know what I mean?
It's just like random, especially when you wind up like chasing algorithm shit kind of deal. So trying to ignore that and just like put out quality stuff. But yeah, it's like definitely a like roller coaster. I figured out like the last couple months I have to like kind of put blinders on a little bit when I put videos out, because I notice I'll like tune in too much about how the video does or how people are reacting to it. And I find that I kind of keep it much more like even killing or whatever you want to call it. If I just kind of ignore all that shit and just like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, like focus on this or focus on improving a couple of things you want to do, and kind of ignore this to an extent. It's impossible to like completely ignore it, but I feel like if I tune in too much, like a roller coaster gets kind of crazy to where if I kind of like put a little bit of blinders on and kind of ignore a lot of stuff, I do a little better about like maintaining versus just.
It's a tough one, man. It's, you know, the thing about the whole algorithm shit, and this is what's kind of killing Instagram, is that like you don't have control over your creativity anymore. You're forced to create the way the world wants you to create, and then it literally has taken art out of everything. Yeah. You know what I mean?
People are just, they're chasing an algorithm or whatever it does to make them famous versus actually trying to put out something of quality kind of deal.
Yeah. How do you find anything unique in a world of people that are doing the same shit? Yeah. You know, every YouTube video has the same fucking style thumbnail, and it's like, what? There's nothing unique about that. It's like, you know, like I want every, like, recently, this is a small subtle change, but recently I've just been putting their name on my cover photo. And I'm like, I'll lean into your algorithm bullshit a little bit, but I like the cleanliness of an image and our logo in the image, but also dipping behind the image in certain areas. That's a very simple thing to do on Photoshop, and it's unique to our brand and how we do things. So I don't want to change that.
Thumbnails apparently make a huge difference. So I've been trying to adjust mine a little bit lately, which kind of like fucks the photo up, which I don't like. I still trying to leave it like as clean as possible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to like continually improve and put out quality stuff. And I don't know, opinion, if I keep putting quality out there, I'll keep growing kind of deal versus trying to chase all the stupid crap. I don't feel like YouTube's nearly as bad with their algorithms as like TikTok or Instagram or whatever. So
Instagram is so bad right now, dude. I went from, this sounds like a first world problem for sure right now. I went from regularly having between like 500 and 1,000 new followers a month, just naturally, right? To December happened, and for a month and a half, I bounced between 10 new followers and 20 lost followers, a 30 follower window. And I was just like, this is weird. It's like in the, you know, essentially 10 years this year that I've been on Instagram, I've never had this happen. Yeah. You know, and it's like it's kind of, it hasn't killed my joy for photography, but I don't know where to put my photography right now. So I haven't had the desire to do it. Does that make sense?
No, that's 100% fair. That was one of the multiple reasons earlier when I started this, but one of the ways earlier was like to have a place to like put my photography, like to put it out there a little bit, because there's nowhere really to do that right now. So
me and Tommy we're working on a new idea. I think I was telling some people about doing it earlier this year, but we had to push it off a year. But I think we're going to put an event together, and this is like really grassroots or really not figured out yet, but we're going to put some kind of event together that's for artisans like that. Okay. Where everybody will be able to create, like, say for you as a photographer, you'll be able to do some metal paintings and some prints, bring them out, display them, sell them, show the world. Like, I love seeing my pictures in my hand.
Yeah, 100%.
fucking amazing, right? So we want to create this event not just for photographers, but a lot of different artists, and then also have custom bikes in there that are very artsy, you know, if you will, or just like people that's put a lot, like created a lot of things in their bikes, not like the bolt-on king and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like a lot of those like custom bikes and choppers and stuff, I think it's 100% art. Like it's not like photography or like a painting, but it's definitely an art, and some of the work that goes into that, it's 100% art.
So, you know, one of the things I always try to preach to people is like when you feel like you don't have something that you want to have, then you got to create it. And that's kind of what we want to do. And yes, there is things like it. Like Mama tried the One Moto, Fuel Cleveland. A lot of the chopper community have this, right? But I don't know how to be a part of that community riding a bagger.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get that opportunity to put my art in this place. You know,
make it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make it ourselves. Yeah. So you know, awesome. And because there's a lot of art in our community. I mean, there's Cody Melton's a photographer. There's tons of photographers. There's no shortage of photographers. Let's be real.
Not at all.
But there's also there's what a videographer can roll. You want to be fucking artsy CR and shit. Go make a video and portray it on that at a bike show. Everybody's like, oh, shit, this is bringing back memories right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's ways that you can present your art, and I think that that's one thing that artists need to remember is that we've got accustomed to just throwing our art on social media, and we forgot how to show the world our art.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's our art. It's ultimately our responsibility to find a way to put it out there.
Yeah. And, like with Instagram pushing everybody to make reels, and now everything you do is a reel now. It's like you go live on there. Do you want to make this a reel? That kind of shit. It's like, fuck, dude. You're so desperate, dude.
I'll share I don't do a ton of reels. I started doing a little more lately, but I'll put a reel out there on my story after I've created it. So I'll share it to my story. And then like 2 or 3 days later, I'll get on Instagram. It'll recommend me making a reel for my stories that are my reels I've already shared. And it's like, just quit. This app's just garbage.
It really is garbage, dude. But where do you find another app that? What I've always loved about Instagram is the connectivity of people, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that still exists? Do you think that exists still, James or Jaden? My bad. Whiskey.
I'll go fuck myself. Yeah, I don't know. This is something I've been kind of saving for a quaint zone. I think it. We've talked about 4-year periods and things wane, and I've kind of dropped off on it. I'm not as anxious or as enthusiastic as I used to be about answering the DMs or connecting with that random dude that comments on this. Like and part of that's in Instagram's interface with the way stories roll, with the notifications. And I've said it before, it's not just an excuse. It gets buried. I mean, if you have any kind of people tagging you and you tag stories on any sort of frequency, your real messages just get pushed down and down and down. And I'm not the guy that can spend all day scrolling back. I get distracted, whatever the fuck. So I've lost it. I'm sure there are dudes still out there that wait for a message to pop up and they reply right then. But fuck, man, I've to the point where I've thought about deleting my entire inbox and just go, you know what? If you've written me a message ever, I never got back to you, I'm sorry. I don't have it anymore. Send it again or whatever the fuck. Like, punch me in the face at an event. I'm sorry, but I'm just because it's maybe not even 100 to me, but that might as well be 1,000. I'm sure you guys are on a totally different plane, but it's enough to me where I'm like, oh, am I going to take off a day at work to just go back and try to reply? And we've talked about it before. You reply to some dude, and it doesn't matter if it's 6 months old. Hello, I'd like to start is this a conversation? Like, it's like that meme. Like, did we just start a conversation? No. You said something nice. I super appreciate it. I'm saying something nice back, but I don't want to go back and forth for the next 20 minutes about it. And
They've turned the app into work. Like, from anything from messaging or, like, getting your content out there.
I feel like a cunt saying it's work because it's like, well, I don't get paid. You know what I mean? It almost sounds dumb. Like, but it does. Honestly, it feels that way. It feels like work sometimes.
Man,
I'm just trying to keep up with it.
I still feel like right now, old school message forums could make a comeback. They literally could. Are they going to get? I mean, if you're trying to make a message forum where you're getting 1 billion users, no, we don't want that. I don't want that. Like, honestly, if I like when I hear these stories from all these guys I've done these podcasts with talking about like chopper dogs, the thing that West Coast choppers, you just join. You had to like either pay to sign up or whatever, and then that money, I wouldn't give a fuck about the money, but maybe that money can go towards something for this entire group. But at least it would like weed out fucking bots and fucking dudes that don't put any energy into anything other than like, you know, making rude ass comments and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it just like, I want to connect with people and have conversations and have a little bit more context and meaning behind it, but I don't feel like social media is a place to do that anymore.
Yeah, I wonder how much like just people in general are kind of pulling back from social media a lot too lately, because I feel like it's absorbed so much of our lives these days. And how much do you really connect anymore over there versus like in-person stuff? So I wonder if it's like some of it's like a societal thing, or maybe people in general pulling back from social media.
It could be. That's actually a really great point. It could be that. I mean, I wonder how many people, like not just ours, but how many group chats in the world have kind of turned into nothing. You know, is everybody just kind of over connectivity? Like they want exclusivity now?
Yeah.
I kind of feel that way. I know I'm a lot more, and again, God knows I've got 69 messages in my inbox to say otherwise. But yeah, I'm a lot more responsive by text. And again, I'm not very good at that either. But text, phone call, to me, that's a whole different thing. I almost won't get back to it.
It's like, hey, bro, you want to fuck with me? Here's my address. Mail me a letter.
Oh,
let's talk. Let's chat, dude.
But I say that, and I still, I send out the message every now and then where somebody's doing something, or I'm thinking about somebody, or I don't expect a quick message back or anything like that. It's just,
dude, I did the same thing you're talking about. So yesterday, over the course of the last week, Zombie Mike has come up in my mind 3 times. Right? I haven't talked to him in about like a year. Have no idea what's going on with him. So I just text him. I didn't even know if his number was still the same. I was like, hey, man, you keep popping up in my head. I just want to check in and see how you're doing. Oh, dude, I'm fucking doing good. Blah, blah, blah. This is where I live now. You got to come down. I was like, now I'm fucking stoked. Like, I want to go hang out with this dude again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I miss that. You know what I mean? I miss that, like, I don't know, just feeling like the person you're with, too, hanging out is stoked to also see you. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that I haven't had like great. I'm not saying that everybody that comes around is like, oh, these dudes just, you know what I mean? Nothing like that. But I don't know, man. Like it's just something too, like
making a real connection with somebody versus just like
yeah. I can't quit social media. You know what I mean? Like everything that I do is like required that there's some kind of social media presence.
Yeah.
Right. But I fucking hate it, dude.
Yeah. And there's some, not to be the Tommy Shelby fucking boomer Facebook meme, wait till you're going through shit and see who reaches out. Those are your real,
Yeah.
There's a lot of jerk off motion to that, but there is something to it about also, like I said, but there's people that I like. Mine was Wheelo. I just don't think I have Scott's cell number, so I'm messaging just the same thing, kind of think about you, whatever. Hope everything's going good, but it's the same thing. Like if that's my only avenue, I can't get rid of it because that may be my only avenue to get through to some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is something about the relationships that matter at some point will kind of, the cream rises to the top. And that doesn't mean there's some me doing damage control. Doesn't mean the dude I've messaged a couple of times that maybe I met you at an event and we had a beer. Doesn't mean I don't like you. There's just a certain thing where.
Yeah, you just, like maybe you haven't had enough interactions for that dude to get to for him to be able to peel back some of your onion or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a sexual pun. That's straight as fuck.
It's all onion booty.
Peeling that onion back, baby.
I've got like a Hank Hill ass lately.
But no, I don't know. I mean, you travel so much, and with you and Emma, like, how do y'all deal with like your social life with that shit? You know what I mean? Or do you have one?
To be honest, like traveling so much, you lose. Like I feel like the social life, like locally, has definitely like kind of dwindled because like we're gone so much. And I'd have dudes like a year or two ago, hey, like you want to go grab a beer here? I'm gonna do that. I'm like, hey man, sorry, I'm out of town. I'll be back like 2 weeks if you want to do this. And after you do that so many times to people, like they kind of quit reaching out, kind of deal. And so it's definitely like dwindled with traveling so much, just because like. You can only turn some people. Yeah,
you got to be the guy that when you come back, hey, bro, I'm back. If y'all want to connect sometime, you know what I mean?
Yeah. His wife may not be letting him hang out in 2 weeks from now or whatever day that is. He may have that past.
Yeah.
So that's something else you would, I guess, have to learn to manage.
So are you a part of the Tennessee Club South Tennessee guys or what?
Like how so? I mean, like I'm in Nashville, so I
No,
go there
yeah,
next
I mean,
couple
I'm not
miles.
saying I said that very sly faced. Like I wasn't trying to make it like I got some dirt or something like that. No, those are solid dudes, but I just didn't know the whole like meme going back and forth for the polar ride situation.
Usually, like I kind of ignore the meme things, but that shit was hilarious.
That shit was so funny.
I threw one in there. I think at one point it was, I don't know, that was pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. What part of I feel like I've asked you before. Where at in Nashville are you at?
East Nashville, so it's like 10 minutes from downtown.
Oh, that's
so
not
it's like
bad.
3 miles, just like across the river and the interstate and back into those neighborhoods a little bit. So I'm legit in Nashville. So
That's nice. How busy has it gotten over the last year and a half?
Nashville's gotten crazy the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 years.
For real?
It's just been, I mean, I moved there in 2007. So like very few people there are actually originally from Nashville. Like everybody's a transplant. Like my wife is one of the few like actual like born in Nashville people I know. And it's just continually blows up. And even when all like the pandemic shit happened and everybody went into like quarantine and shit, and you kind of everybody started working from home. Like I feel like everybody still kept moving to Nashville, and it's just there's just like so many fucking people there. It's actually, I mean, part of it's like good. There's created a lot of opportunities. And there are a lot of good things of growth, but it also creates a lot of growing pains kind of deal.
Yeah.
What do you feel like the vibe of the city is? Nashville is the Austin of Texas. Where
I think they're
it's
very
been Austin is like we call Austin, people in Texas, it's essentially kind of the California of Texas. Like, do you get a real laid back, liberal vibe as transplants tend to move in, or do you feel like it's the same kind of just steady as she goes?
I mean, it's definitely, I think there are a lot of similarities between Nashville and Austin, in that perspective, both politically, but also like the growth. Maybe not so much as like the political environment as Austin, but it's still pretty similar. But at the same time, it's still like the Southeast. So
Yeah.
there's that too. So
You'll hear a hard R before too long, huh?
yeah, 100%.
Got these motherfucking ers over here.
Actually, you could probably hear the wrong F word in Nashville too. Actually, I'm pretty sure I've heard it at rooftop bars the one time we went.
Unfortunately, every time we go to Nashville,
Is it really the what is it, the bride's what's the bachelorette? Is it the
Yeah,
bachelorette?
it's-
It is. It's the
it's-
bachelorette capital of the country.
I think
right?
so. It's pretty insane. Like, we never go out downtown anymore when we go out. Like, we only go out downtown when, like, people come in from out of town and want to go out down there.
honestly, the only person that's ever like linked up with us while we were in Nashville was that one dude. He has a YouTube thing that he does.
Trip? No.
It's like something crow.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has a bird in the name Crow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do not remember.
Cool ass dude. He came out
was
with us all
awesome. He
fucking
was
night. And he came to our camp. I can't think of his Insta or his name right now from the whole thing. But every time we would, because usually when we come to a town on our trips, like we're blasting social media. Like, hey, dude, we're coming to town. We're gonna be in downtown. But hey, if you know that downtown sucks and this place is better, like, fucking tell us, dude. We want to be at the best part of this. We want to be at the local spots. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
On that one, I think I know what you're saying. We were like, hey, we're coming to Nashville.
Raven something, I think.
We were coming to Nashville, and all we got from people especially people in Tennessee, were, "Oh, Nashville sucks. I'm like an hour and a half out, or I'm here, or I'm there, but Nashville sucks." But there was no like, "Dude, just pony up, come here, it'll be worth it. We'll
Go
do
here
this, whatever."
instead.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
said it was just shitting on Nashville and just leaving it at that. We're like, well, at that point, I think we might have already booked the room, and it was game on. But
Yeah, I don't think downtown's bad. Like, we have a couple of, like local bars in our neighborhood we'd rather go to, and it's a little more of like a mellow vibe. To where if you go out downtown, like, it's tourists and country music and bachelorette parties. It's a party.
Yeah.
And so I'm 39 now, so like going
Yeah.
to like some of the local places like that have like a pool table or
Yeah.
that kind of shit, like the dives and just like chilling is much more our vibe, which is why we kind of avoid that. Because if you go out downtown, like
That's
you're
my vibe, 100%. I think that's yours too. But when you have a group together, you feel invincible. So it's like, let's go somewhere where we might be able to not be fucked with. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I kind of feel Ben.
Us walking around New York City like, fuck with us, dude.
There's part of me that feels like, oh, I should only have about 3 downtown nights in me a year, but I don't, dude. I can go kind of.
I mean, if you go down there with like the right mindset, you can have a lot of fun. Like you need to take a bunch of money because it's expensive as fuck. But
Fuck, every bucket was like $50 of
dude.
Michelob Ultra. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you're selling us fucking the ice water in the fucking bottle. You know?
And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I don't go downtown enough to say this anymore, but I don't know. I feel like when I moved there in 2007, like downtown's a little different than it was now than it was then. I feel like now it's like every bar is owned by like a country music star, and like I don't know, it's just got like a weird vibe. It's a bunch of bachelorette parties, and it's nothing but tourists. You can still like hear good music if you go down there. Like, so if you want to hear good music, you definitely still go down there. You can't elsewhere too, but like there's a bunch of things down there, but it's definitely got more of a.
It seemed
corporate
corporate.
vibe. Yeah.
The one time I went, so no prior experience. The one time I went, we went, and it was packed. It was fun. You said, you know, people everywhere. Good looking people, honestly. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Everything seemed like it was Toby Keith this or Margaritaville that. It just seemed
100%.
corporate. I could see where you just had the feeling that we're in the party, but there's other parts of this.
There's not like character
that the
down there.
real people kind of thumb their nose to where we're at, and we're not getting the best. We're getting the party night, but we're not getting.
How'd you feel about when we went to Austin? Like, because I felt like we got to. I don't know. I feel like I had a good time when we went. We were at the White Horse and all that.
Yeah, this last one for
Tommy's went down for Tommy's event.
I didn't
Road
get time.
racing.
Yeah, it was. Man, I was kind of drunk all day. If you want to know the truth, but and maybe I laid up a little bit. But
that was the first time I've been to Austin to drink and do that in a long time. And on that note, when we went to 6th Street as the last bar we were going to that night, it was dead. There was nobody on 6th Street. And it was like fucking 12-something p.m. or 12 a.m. or something like that. It wasn't like – and it was Saturday. It was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
I was like, wow. It was dead. Usually 6th Street, Austin, any weeknight – or any weekend, the fucking streets are packed.
Does the University of Texas affect? Because aren't they like?
I don't know. I'm sure it does, like football season and stuff like that. But I don't know if I'd say we were in off season for 6th Street. Okay, so yeah, so school's out, so you got no student population down there, and I can see how it would be.
Okay,
not quite where it was.
The White Horse was packed though,
and maybe that contributed to us not going as hard. It was just one of those things we were in at a decent time. Nobody lost anything other than Kyle being a dickhead and ripping my pants. The night went good. Like it was funny in hindsight. It sucked during the time, but we just had a nice chill, like almost like a see, honey. I can go out with the boys.
Dude, to be honest, like I don't know. As I get older, I feel like I'm getting a lot more lame or whatever. Like I rarely do I want to go out downtown and like just fucking like party it up anymore. I want to go somewhere and have a drink. We sit there and like talk and like have a conversation.
That's me.
Like,
100%.
and I don't know if I'm being lame or just getting old or what, but like I just don't really give too much a fuck about like going out there and like at least like downtown. I'm up for like partying with like friends and shit like that, but like in terms of like going out to bars and stuff, I don't know. Just like
I don't want to do this for
fighting
15 minutes
and yelling at somebody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just
one day, right? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anywhere.
Yeah.
Especially like I mean I don't if it's a chill dive bar and it just has to be a packed night, I'll deal with that. I'm good with that. But I'm not going to go into the place that has a line to get into the place, and then there's a line to get a drink at the place, and all this other shit. Like I don't need this place is not that important to me to be here. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
If the staff doesn't look like they're busy, like if it's one of those where they all look like they either shopped heavily or worked at Abercrombie at one point in their life, and they look at like a busy bar just as like, nah, it's kind of standard. Fuck you, that's not my kind of place. Like you said, if it's a dive bar and they get swamped and I can see that they're struggling and they're sweating their balls and they're trying to do it, I'm going to tip you double. Like, I'm happy about that. I don't vibe with the places where it's like they're just always busy and that's just how they roll. That's not my kind of scene.
They operate at understaffed.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
The whole experience of like I'm with you on that. Like I want to go have a drink. And even if it's just with my wife, I just want to be able to hear what she's saying to me, and I have to go, what? Hold on, this fucking Lady Gaga song is loud as fuck right now.
Yeah, you're out there to have
what I mean?
like you have fun with friends and actually have like a real connection and talk versus like trying to yell at somebody or like strain to hear them and that kind of deal. Yeah.
If the bar is not going to play one of the famous country songs at some point in the night, it's probably not that good of a bar. If you're not going to get at least the fucking Low Places Friend song, or I don't know, what would you say is another good one to play at a?
Any sort of people in there, and they, especially if they know that song. Like you said, you took the King off the board.
I'm in love with a stripper. That song goes pretty hard at a bar.
Dude, I can hear the record scratching. Like we're probably Cody and Jacob hang out. Like you put that on.
Yeah. Which black?
Say it.
Here we go. Which African American artist transcend into the rural parts of America, like songs wise?
Other than Hootie.
I don't even know one Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh no,
song.
he's gone like country Americana. Like Darius Rucker, they play him on like the Dallas country stations.
Oh shit!
But are you saying like what like hip hop artists translate?
Yeah.
Man, I think Genuine, My Pony. I feel like that's one. Literally, like across the country, you can play that. Like whatever. What was the bar in Kansas we were at where Larry almost married into some shit? I feel like Genuine, My Pony is one song you can play coast to coast.
Yeah.
In any country bar,
Gets the people going,
and people kind of fuck with it. They like it.
Yeah. Okay.
No Diggity seems like another one that's
all 90s joints.
It doesn't. It's hard not to like that song. But yeah, I feel like those are some. There are a few where even old school white people were like, all right.
I didn't like it when it came out, but it's grown on me. It's 30 years old.
Right? Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. It's those old cowpoke dudes. They like those songs because it turns their women. Because their women start dancing. They like it. It's a different kind of music.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden okay. Yeah.
We get it. Oh, systemic racism.
Take it easy. Take it easy. I'll throw these headphones down and walk out of here.
Oh man. What are y'all gonna do this weekend in Austin other than like bust your ass and make videos? You gonna like go out and do anything?
Dude, that's gonna be it. Like, so I've got a video each day while I'm there, and then I've got a job I'm working on for a client I'm trying to get done by next week. So it's gonna do videos and go to the hotel and work. To be honest, it's gonna be a pretty lame weekend. I'm sure we'll go out and like grab a drink or dinner somewhere.
What part of town are you gonna stay in?
No idea.
Well, Rennie's on the northwest side.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much not even Austin anymore. Let's be real. It's like damn near Killeen.
Did you say you're staying in downtown?
We don't have anywhere booked yet. So filming with Rennie tomorrow. Emma flies in tomorrow night, so I got to get to the airport tomorrow night.
That's on the other side of
Yeah. And then Saturday, I'm filming with Cody. I think we're doing that at Lindahl.
Okay, so that's San Marcos.
And then back at Rennie's to film a different one, that Panhead they're giving away.
Dude, in San Marcos, if y'all were to stay down there close, because that's close to where Lindahl is, there's some good, like, San Marcos is a college town too, and there's some good like bars down in their little area, like what we're talking about. It's kind of chill. Like me and my wife went there one year, and Skinner, I Need You, and I just played it the other day for Valentine's 4. But it's like I've heard this song my whole life, but it was on our anniversary. We were on our way back from South Padre, and we stopped in there, and we ended up stopping and getting a hotel in San Marcos. We went to a bar we found, and they played it there. And I was like, I've heard this song before, but it's fucking hitting right now. And every time I hear it now, it just puts me back with me drinking some whiskeys and soda water and just vibing out. There's a lot of college kids there, but at the same time, it's still a divey enough bar where you can kind of enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
To be honest, that's typically what we do when we travel around and like we go somewhere and like, hey, like I usually talk to whoever I'm interviewing. It's like, hey, give me like a good local spot. I can go get dinner tonight, or I can go have a drink kind of deal. Like somewhere local that I can't. Like I don't want to go somewhere. I don't want to chain. I don't want to go
Chili's.
Yeah, give me somewhere local I can go hit up and like that kind of deal.
For sure.
Coincidentally, my favorite Valentine's song with my chick is also by Leonard Skinner, but it's That Smell. Sorry, Geech. No. What I was going to say about Austin, if you guys do end up staying for whatever reason in the downtown area, the East 6th Street has there's this old breakfast place called Cisco's.
Okay.
It's been around since the 60s. Family-owned joint, Mexican food by name. Well, it is Mexican food. You can still get a generic, 2 eggs, toast. It's a fucking institution. So
Cisco's?
Yeah, Cisco's. I think it's on East 6. I don't have the exact address.
I'll just check it out because usually, like I say, I go do these and I like crash on the couch if I can, or I go find a rest area, sleep in the back of my truck and shit like that. And Emma originally had different plans for the weekend, and she was like, "Oh," and I guess they just fell through. And she's like, "Oh, I'll come down there or whatever." And so that means we get to a hotel and like do some shit like that.
Hell
so
yeah! Well, there
check
you
out
go.
some stuff.
You may look like a good guy with a sweet breakfast recommendation. She actually chimed in earlier saying she loves getting to travel and just how great it is seeing the creative process and everything. Just to what we said earlier, just chimed in, being your supporter.
Dude, yeah, she's 100% behind it, and she's like a part of it. Like, it's not like me doing my thing and like she's back here kind of. She's 100% a part of it and like helping it out and like contributes, like especially when she come, and she's got 4 of her own interviews out there. I think she's actually trying to do a lot more this year. She's been I think trying to line a bunch up. At least I think she set the goal of like maybe like 1 a quarter or something like that, to where she can get more of them out there. Like I said, I do this full time, so I can just do whenever I get a chance to do an interview, I go do it. Where hers, she's got to work them in kind of deal. So
so the last video with her twerking, it just reminds me of the She-Hulk stuff, which was, unfortunate for Marvel Cinematic Universe, but
I missed the She-Hulk stuff too, and honestly, I've missed the last video, so I didn't see if she was twerking or anything. But.
It's like the intro part. It's like like a logo's half over it. Like Emma's the only person that can be like awkward and hilarious thing or whatever. Yeah,
she was grooving.
Yeah.
A little more Bob's Burger.
Very much so.
Shorts or that.
Yeah, Bob's Burger. That's a good one. No, that's cool. Where you have this creative like energy.
Yeah, 100%. Because like she's helping push me along versus like she's not something I've got to deal with or like I've got to manage 2 different things. Like
she understands what you're doing. 100%. She sees what you're putting into it and what's coming out of it, and she sees the potential. And it's a much different perspective, I guess, when you have that. Yeah. So.
And she actually rides more frequently than I do, because she like rides to work all the time.
Yeah.
She rides her bike all the time. And so
I guess I justify being on the road for a month because I'm still recording 10 podcasts, right? But there's no way I could do video podcasts on the bike.
Yeah, no,
it's impossible.
Yeah, so like I've had to, so like the first like 15 of these, I think 11 or 12 of them I think I did on the bike. And I would like cram as much shit on I could on the bike and just take it with me.
Yeah.
But obviously means like the production. Yes, I do. I've added like, I got like 3 tripods. I got like the big Godox like lights with like soft boxes, like 2 cameras, like mics and stuff like that. And so I've got like a bunch of like, the truck out there has got a big bed on it, like with like a waterproof cover, and it's just like full of like fucking camera equipment and like lighting and shit like that.
Yeah.
And so in essence, it did take away like the riding part of these, because one of the better parts initially was the fact that I got to like ride to do all these. Mm-hmm. So you got a lot more riding in, and that part's kind of went away because just trying to increase the quality of them, I've kind of had to start like driving places. So it has taken away a good bit of like the riding time with that. But we were talking earlier about having to balance like events and then doing these, and so I've started trying to make the events a lot more of like the riding part I get to do. Like rode to Born Free and back last year. Em and I rode up to Milwaukee for hometown rally and back last year. If we go to Daytona, we're riding down there and back kind of deal.
No, it's like a podcast I do. If I go on the road, because when I go to Born Free California this year and do a lot of stuff, that'll still podcast consumption to be video. I want it to be an option on certain things.
Yeah.
Right? Because if people stop listening to certain podcasts because it's not video, then but even still, like, I mean, I'm saying that, but it's like 90% of the people that listen to our podcast, they don't watch it. They listen to it. So it's not, it's not really skewed that way at all. Yeah. But I guess I watch a lot of podcasts. Even when I'm in my car, like I have you saw it in my car?
No, I was just thinking, are you one of those dudes that just rolls up? I do it too, where I prop the phone up on like the dash.
Got like a movie going.
Well, I watch podcasts like Matt and Shane's Secret Pod, or something where they're sitting on a couch, and I don't have to look unless maybe they do something funny, and I want to look for like a facial reaction. Yeah. But for them, I'm not trying to watch like Avengers: Age of Ultron, like going down 35.
But same. So I have like a suction cup in my window and like a phone mount. It's just like under my like fucking rear view mirror thing, And so when I'm on the road, if I want to listen to a Rogan podcast, then I can just pop it up in there, and it's there. It's in the peripheral if I want to look at it.
But you don't have to.
I don't have to, you know. Or I watch a lot of YouTube. I'll put on a YouTube video and watch it, kind of.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. We watch more like YouTube than anything else. We don't have like. We actually just recently like re-upped like Netflix or whatever, but pretty much all we had was like YouTube there for a while. But I consume a lot more stuff like visually, even like podcasts. Like, what's your podcast now? I watch them on YouTube versus like on Spotify or something like that because I like the visual part, especially being able to see like faces kind of deal.
Yeah.
For me, I've had a lot of people ask me about putting mine out on like Spotify or whatever, and I'm
Just
like,
the audio version.
yeah,
of it?
and I'm like, well, I don't really do mine to be like a podcast.
It could still go
And
that
then
way.
I still like. I'm doing this as a visual thing. I want people to watch the video, not like the just listen to the audio. Like that's what I put all the work into is like the video, and so I kind of want people to go that way to watch it versus like going to like a podcast kind of deal. So
Yeah, 100%. I agree to that. It's like a weird situation where it's like, should I just stay in this lane, just do audio podcasts, fuck all this video, fuck all the studio shit? But I mean, they're not the best podcasts, but I mean, Jaden can attest to it. Sometimes when you're in this room and it's the right fucking weather outside, it's the right fucking people in here, and the right time of the year to drink some beer and have a good time, fuck the podcast. We're just having fun. And some of the funnest times of my life in the last 5 years have been doing podcasts that probably people didn't even like. You know what I mean? Because it is literally... It has been some of the funnest things, you know what I mean? For me, 100%, especially within the motorcycle world. I mean, Jaden's probably been a part of more stuff outside of the studio, especially this last year. You know, like I hate to keep bringing up like our adventures, our, you know, Dragon and Bonesaw's adventures in California. But, dude, we were ripping and running in L.A., man. Had a good time, and the shit's fun, dude. You know, and unfortunately, sometimes you don't capture that in an audio podcast. You know, you don't capture, you know, us being in Venice and deciding last minute to go do a podcast on the other side of LA and being drunk and showing up there at 11 o'clock and doing a podcast till 3 in the morning. And
putting my head in a bag of weed, like a pound bag, you know, just.
You need to lean into YouTube and start getting that YouTube money, and you can like hire somebody to like follow y'all around and like kind of create like some.
Dude, honestly, if I had the money
shit.
if I had the money to pay Jaden a full-time wage and subsequently also pay some fucking kid to come follow us around with a camera, we would own motorcycle content in YouTube space right now, 100%. So if you want to invest.
I mean, can you lean into that and do that? I mean, because obviously there is money in YouTube. You got to get big to do it.
Yeah.
But obviously you've got a huge podcast following. You've got like a significant like Instagram
No,
following.
like the writing aspect of like how we are, and even if you added another one of the guys in the group just occasionally, it would still like add more to it. But Jaden is good at this, and I can be. He's probably better than me, but I think that we can turn any situation into a fun time. You know, you take us anywhere, and we can read the room. And we'll be like, all right, this needs a little bit of paprika, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt. Let's fucking go. You know what I mean? And we can make this anything fun, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, if in a world of YouTube, if we could capture that, I'd be down. But usually it's me behind the camera trying to capture them. But sometimes the dynamic might be us too. And if I'm behind the camera, how do we create this dynamic? You know
I know like, I don't know. I know watch some of the two lane live stuff, not a ton of it, but didn't they start off just them initially and then they brought 2Lane J, right? Yeah. And so like to kind of create that, so like almost like create some kind of demo. I know he's like as much part of their show as he is their video guy too, but like.
Well, with Jay, I think that they, you know, when I first met Lance, Big Lance, it's in 2019, and he's always had this business, Setwear. They make gloves for like a lot of the movie set industry, like they make a lot of different pouches, things like that. A lot of the similar stuff that you see in thrashing with like the bar bags, the gloves. His dad makes stuff in that world, but for the camera industry or the boom guys, the audio guys, the videographers. They all have gloves because they're holding fucking rigs and shit like that, right? And thrashing gloves are great for using your camera still, if you didn't know. So when he started riding, and they had this whole deal going on where they were riding and stuff, and then Thrashing is a big brand. They've always been a big brand, even before they started leaning into YouTube. So, and they're in L.A., right? So you have all these kids all over the place that want to fucking learn they want to be a part of this world. Hey, man, I make videos. Mm-hmm. That's how Jay kind of came into that whole fold as like wanting to be a part of that, and then Lance and them picking it up, and then him riding. I mean, Jay was like 22, 23 years old.
Okay.
On a fucking new Lowrider S, making shit happen, and he's got to have an old soul to kind of fuck with Galen and Lance, but at the same time, you know, they've leaned into him. They've built enough things to where they didn't make any money doing what they do until it got to a certain point, but they made sure to pay him, right?
Yep.
And we just live in Dallas, man. There's not a lot of people here that want to make stuff like that. They don't, and also people don't understand, like I did a podcast for 3 years before I really made any money, right? I made like $75 a month for a long time, and that covered just the cost of the podcast. Yeah. And that's why most people quit podcasts, is because it doesn't make any money until you get over this threshold, till you get an audience, till your sponsors start to make money off of what you provide, right? And so it's the same thing with YouTube. Like you can say it, like you're busting out some high quality content, but it's still going to take time for YouTube to catch up with what you're doing. So if, you know, I have this whole world, you know, whether it's riding, the shop, the friends, the bike nights, if some kid wanted to come in here and edit and create videos and video me, then I'd share my YouTube with him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But hey, I mean, it's $200 a month now, but if you bust your ass and you help me make some good content, it could be fucking $20,000 a month. It's up to you and me, obviously, but it's up to you as to you want to invest in this or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that the hardest thing for people to see is time. They don't think about, okay, can I do this for the next 6 months and have realistic expectations of what those 6 months should be providing for me financially? Yeah. You know, because I looked at, you know, not making money with photography, but I looked at photography when I've always dabbled into it, right? Mm-hmm. I've had cameras for years, but I didn't really hanker down and like try to make something of it till 2020. And within 2 years, I'd already had some success publicly, but not, you know, I haven't quite turned it into a monetized thing yet. But, you know, it's just over time, like people don't, how do you say it? Like, if you do one thing every day for an hour a day, after 3 weeks, you're going to be really good at it. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get better at it. And eventually you're going to be really good at it. And that's the same approach I'm taking right now with YouTube. I'm doing these intros. They're not exactly where I want to be in the YouTube space, but I'm getting the experience and the seat time I need.
You're making progress. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I'm already getting drunk. So I've only drank the fucking nipple at the top. So, on say Premiere Pro, like the editing software that I use, which I think you use the same one, right? I know what I want to do with the video, with this clip or with this situation, but I have to constantly go back and research how to do it. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, fuck, man, how do you do a speed ramp right here? Okay, fuck, what was the command? I don't remember. Fuck, and I gotta go to YouTube real quick and look it up. So a video, you know, a 3-minute fucking intro takes me 6 hours because I don't do it enough to remember all the shortcuts.
You're not just doing the intro, you're also learning it at the same time. Yeah, it's a learning process.
But I also know that if I do this every week for the next fucking 6 months, I'll be better, just like you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just, I want to start now so that in 6 months from now, I won't be thinking I want to start now. I'm already there.
Yeah, you're there. You know what I mean? And you've got like 6 months experience and you're doing it kind of deal. That was, I don't know, the same thing when I was thinking about starting this. Like I kept putting it off because I wanted like more experience that I wasn't getting because I wasn't trying to do it.
Exactly.
And when I finally started, like it started getting better and better. And then obviously when I went full on and sort of focused on it, I feel like I've made even more progress.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you're like I said, videos now, and even not just now, like ever since you started like using, like when you got the FX3 camera, you can see the quality in that. And that's just the camera, right?
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
It's not so much the editing.
It's also editing, but like those cameras allow you to do things. Like there are certain things you want to do based with like current setups, but you just can't do. Like basically you you can't run that quality at a certain frame rate and all this kind of stuff. So like, there's a lot of things like you need the equipment to do, and then some of it you just need to like start fucking around and actually learn how to do it. So
let me ask you this. Like I said, I'm already kind of buzzed, so let me figure out how to word this question. But this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I think about this because of my brother. And what I'm about to say, as much as I would love to just like poke some fun, I'm not. This is like a legitimate thing. My brother did really well. He was on the path to do really well with music, or he was making music that was actually people liked, right? He started to have a sound. And then when he started to have a sound, when he started making those breakthroughs is when everything started to crumble, that, you know, his bandmates, his this, his that. He had a hard time staying the course, so he ultimately kind of just gave up on all of it, right? Like, when do you think that, let me see, how do I word this? Not all of us are Ryan Cruzy, right? I might be better at, like, editing a video versus being in the video. So wonder how it is, like, how do you get to a point where, like, you realize, okay, I want to do this, but I'm really good at this, but I really want to be over there doing that. But if I focus on this, then I can actually grow this faster. And the people behind the movies make just as much, if not more, than the people in the movies. But we don't think about that because we just know, like, that dude's an actor. That dude's a YouTube guy. They think about Galen and Lance and what they're doing, but they don't think about Jay, the man behind the camera making it all happen. So I wonder if, like, there's this thing where a lot of people want to create videos, but they want to be in the video so much that they don't realize that they can actually make a living doing this if they just stay behind the camera. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I think it's a lot of it's like figuring out what you actually want to do, and putting your time in actually the part that you want to do, and then remembering to like check your ego. We all like to get our big egos and think we're this shit about like whatever, and so remember there are other people that are like might be better at this than you, or might be like, and so like kind of like building yourself a team kind of deal, and realizing that like
the reason I was bringing up my brother in that aspect is because my brother's good at a lot of different things, not just the band. He was good at making beats, like, which we all have to have beats on fucking for YouTube, right? So I'm like, dude, make some fucking songs and put them on these like stock websites where people buy, you know what I mean? So it's like all these other avenues where if you're interested in something, like, you can find another way to make money in it than just the main source that we all see on the surface, right? Yeah. I usually tell my wife this. She's in the barber industry, but I'm like, when you go sit down at a barber chair, there's 40 to 60 businesses surrounding you within that. It's not just the barber. There's a person that makes the chairs, also refurbishes the chairs. There's the people that make the mats, and then you got to get the most trendy mat. There's the people that make mats that you can the rubber mats that have logos on it, and you put your shit on it when you lay it out. There's the comb people. There's the product people. There's the clipper people, the people that service the clippers. There's the lighting people. There's all these different things in this. There's all these businesses come together so that this one person can do one job. In this room right now, how many businesses do you see that just to make the podcast? Microphones, stand, cables, cameras, soundboards, all this stuff, right? There's a chair over there getting filled by somebody. That's a business. That's a job over there. So there's like all these avenues of making money within these different fields, but people like tunnel vision on the one job. Like, I want to be the guy in the camera, or I want to be the guy, you know, that I want to be the barber instead of the person making all the shit the barber needs. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I just wonder.
Too many chefs, not enough cooks.
Yeah.
Well, you could use the same thing. Too many chefs, not enough Indians or whatever. It's the same thing.
Way worse. Too many Indians, or too many
everybody
chiefs,
wants to be
Indians.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody wants to be an Indian kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Everybody wants to be a
but
chef.
what I'm
Nobody
saying
just wants to be a
is-
fucking cook.
No, what I'm saying is that, like, all these jobs are jobs for chiefs. It's just that they're behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it's all the shit behind the scenes that make what's happening in front of it reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think some of that's like what we were talking about earlier, the whole like social media culture and like algorithms. Everybody's trying to do their own thing to like get famous. That's all anybody gives a shit about anymore, is getting them own selves famous kind of deal. And so I think people have like taken that mentality and everything kind of deal when they think they should be
Yeah.
the king
Yeah,
guru
that's
kind of deal.
and I'm not trying to just be a pessimistic fuck, but that's the worst thing about social media, right? Is it just that it gave everybody their own platform. Let's be honest. There's a lot of people that don't deserve or need a platform, but yet it gave everybody a platform, so everybody feels like they need to or have to or whatever the fuck compete, and it's just we don't need that. You know what I mean? It's I guess in ruder terms, it gave everybody a platform to where you could take it as people actually give a fuck what you think and do, and that's really not the case. Like, be better, be fucking better. At some point, it's still law of the jungle. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not railing on participation trophy society, but at some point, the cream rises to the top, and I stand by what the fuck I said. No, the world needs cooks. It needs Indians. Yeah. Not every. Yeah, you could be the chief of being a sound guy or whatever, but fuck off. Like, you know what I'm saying? For the point of the analogy, it's everybody wants to be the star. Yeah. Guess what? We can't. There's one chief. There's a bunch of Indians. Nothing wrong with being an Indian. Be the best fucking Indian you can be. Just know that, you know what I mean? What's the Tom Segura thing? Like, there's people that are more talented than you. You're not going to make it. You're not the guy. Like, it just, and his is tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but same thing. It's, there's nothing wrong with not being the thing. And it feeds back into the, you've got a platform where you feel entitled or whatever. Everybody shouldn't hear you. You should be judged on your merits. If you fucking suck, you fucking suck. Fall by the wayside. And if you're good, you'll rise. But
I mean, yeah.
What I'm also, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you just said, but what I'm also saying is, like, what happens if, like, say, let's just say you're in Dallas, right? Somebody's in Dallas, not you, somebody, and they have all these abilities to create videos. They have this idea, but they just don't have subject matter that is something that can, like, create profit, right? And so they see a guy like me that has this place of all this different angles of content where we can create something. Well, do you take the back seat as this guy with the ability and the time over here? Do you take the back seat to go create content over here and do what you ultimately love, which is create videos? You know, and basically partner up with this other person and share the profits of it based on the fact that you're providing a service and that person is providing a service, right? The guy that Cruzy uses is the guy that came into the shop and wanted to make videos, and now they share the revenue of the YouTube with them, right? It's like, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're still making videos, and you don't have to be the voice. You just got to make the best fucking video, and let the other guy be the fucking, you know, which I'm no Cruzy, and I never will be. You know, he's you put a camera on that dude, and you're gonna get some gold out of him. Yeah. So it's one of those weird things where it's like, how many of us, like, maybe it's me too. Maybe at some point I realize that I've learned how to do enough shit with this stuff that maybe there's a better voice for a podcast, and I need to humble myself and go be that guy for that person and find a way to monetize that. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like homemade porn. Let the talent be the talent. Stay in your fucking lane and just let the people.
3 more strokes. I'm coming on her face.
Fuck. Yeah, but next time.
Camera ready? All right, here we go. 1.
But imagine, like, finding kind of what he's found. It's going to be like a tough thing to do.
It is.
Yeah. Because you've got to find somebody that you work well with and is willing to, like, get in and actually collaborate.
But that's I mean, this is what I'm seeing as like the constant. It's 2 lane life, and this is just in our little world of podcasting. 2 lane life and Cruzy, like, they have these people that come in and they can focus on being the content creators and they can focus on being the editors. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Or I guess it'd be talent and content creator or whatever the fuck you want to say, but. What was I going to say? So the other thing is, like I watch like Grainy Days. That's one of the I recommended him to you a long time ago. This dude recently, I don't know if you noticed this video, but he did a 6-week motorcycle trip.
Yeah, I did see that when I watched that one.
And
there's a lot of gas stations.
A lot of gas station stops, right? But eventually, deeper into the video, he finally started getting into his normal content flow, and it was a fresh perspective of motorcycle content for me. And I even reached out to him. I was like, hey, dude, it was good seeing you on a bike. I was trying to make some kind of connection with this guy to hopefully maybe have him on the podcast or something like that. But, you know, I just enjoy his vibe, and I enjoy how he portrayed a trip. I thought about like recommending it to all the homies, but as soon as they saw it was a 3-hour video, I'm like, I don't know if they were gonna stay in connected with it, but you know, like what he does a lot. He has a group of friends, and they go out and they do these like photography things together. And if you ever watch some of the other people he has on his video, they get content of each other for their videos. Hey, Ben, we're gonna go out and shoot this building. All right, walk around. Let me catch a couple shots. You film me. I'm gonna, just get some shots, and then I'll do it for you. Yeah. And then bam, they both have channels and they make content, right? I'm fucking looking for that right now. I'm looking for that connection to have people here to make shit with like that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, so do you know what those guys did to land like their videographers or whatever? Like
they both worked in there.
Was it just luck, or did they actually they did something to actually attract these dudes?
So that Grainy Days channel, that dude Jason and one of his closer friends, they both worked or they still work. I think they still have this day job. They work in the world of video in I hate saying Hollywood, but there's a lot of jobs within the video industry of Hollywood that aren't necessarily like they're not on set holding boom arms or things like that. They could be doing simple things like editing certain if you think about like a big production company, you can make a full-time living literally just doing titles. Yeah. You know what I mean, for a video or a commercial or wherever the case. So there's lots of those type of jobs in LA, which makes more sense why guys like Tulane Life would have more connection to younger people that are interested in video, because there's
I mean, still they had to do something to convince those guys to, hey, like, let's jump on board and do this thing, and this is going to be like, because I get the point. At one point we want like these guys to just jump on and like help us out, like do our thing, but at the same time it's some young guy, they got to like eat too. They can't just show up and like film for like 6 months hoping you get to a point where they're going to make something.
That is called selling the seas of uncertainty, bud. So if you're going to live in the world of creatorship,
I mean, yeah, but like I want to bring it. I obviously want to have a team to my thing, but I'm not going to go ask I'm not going to ask I want an audio guy. I want like an extra film guy. Yeah. I want a guy to like
that's
do
just hiring somebody and partnering with somebody. A partnership is basically, look, I don't know what this is going to be. Are you willing to try this with me or not? If you're willing to try it, I might not make dick either. You might not make dick. I might not make dick.
If you're looking at it as like a partnership perspective.
But if like I'm saying, if you're going to share YouTube, that's a partnership, right? Yeah. We create these videos. If this video gets a sponsorship outside of YouTube, that's yours too. Mm-hmm. That's called sharing the situation. That's everything in life, in my opinion, is if you're going to go a creative route and make your own way, then you are always going to be going out with uncertainty. You don't know if this is going to turn into a loss, a gain, or a lesson, which I think they all become lessons, right? But it's hard to promise anybody anything because you don't know their dedication, right? I know I'm dedicated as fuck, and I'm not going to do – I'll sacrifice everything in my life to meet a goal of mine, right? But that's not the same demeanor of everybody else. So I've found myself when I try to hire some people over the years where I found that like they don't have the drive, and so now I end up trying to make good on my promises, working more to cover the lack of what they're providing so that they're still covered. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. You're finding people they wind up looking at it as a job, where this is what you do. This is what drives you kind of do. Yeah.
It's one of those things like, so YouTube can be a job. It can be a job, but it's a gamble, just like everything else. A podcast for me was a gamble. I started this podcast with my brother. He didn't want to fucking sell these seeds of uncertainty the way I did. You know what I mean? And this podcast is something now where I can almost do it for a living, and I'm hoping that at some point in time it can do that for somebody else. But I had hopes and I had dreams. I knew that at some point it would get there if I kept doing it. And then you scroll down the timeline 5 years later and you see these things start to come to fruition, right? But man, it's hard to sell that to somebody.
Hard to see that 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same thing when I started airbrushing. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make a living off doing that, but I like the challenge of it, like the way it is, like like challenging me to get better and do better. And I knew that if I kept getting better and doing better, I would get more opportunities. Same thing that's happening with you with video. Like the better you're getting, the more opportunities you're getting to shoot product photography and all these things. These other doors open up. People want guarantees, and guarantees are for fucking minimum wage people.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you want a guarantee, then you're not a problem solver. You're not someone that's out there in the world like making real things happen. And when you make real things happen, it's always a gamble. You know, think about everybody that makes a part for a motorcycle, right? Imagine you're not Justin, right? You don't have a machine where you can like regulate how many parts you make. Maybe you're Joe Blow's Iowa Speed Shop, right? I want to do a set of risers. I got a great idea. You find someone, your idea is like good. This company's like, well, you need to do 500 sets for us to run them at this price, and this price is where you need to be able to sell them, so you make money and stay competitive in the market, right? That price is still going to cost you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. So now you put $70,000 into an idea to hopefully that it'll sell and catch, right? That's scary.
It's real scary.
And then you look at your Instagram following, you got 2,000 followers. You're like, how the fuck am I going to sell,
Right.
50, all these sets of fucking risers and stuff, right? So it's a weird thing that all life is this gamble of like business, right? And I always tell people like, dude, back in the day, I did some crackhead ass paint jobs, dude. Not crackhead like quality. I mean, it's probably, looking back now, it's probably crackhead quality, but when an opportunity came, I would do stuff that I wouldn't, just being a part of. I remember the first time I ever got to paint a Hayabusa.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to change my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ever like, with what you do with videoing and photography, you ever think like, man, if I ever got a chance to do this, oh, that would be the fucking creme brulee, creme de la creme, or whatever the fuck they say. Whatever those French assholes say.
And then it winds up not being. Yeah.
It's never that.
Yeah. Nope.
But what it did was it made you do it. It made you push yourself to the next level. It's almost like a subconscious coach, if you will.
That's fair.
It's like I remember the first magazine. I was like, fuck, man, if I get in a magazine, this is going to be insane. I don't know if I'm going to have to hire somebody. I'm going to have to do it. Nothing changed.
No, not a thing.
But everything I did to make that magazine happen still projected me to a better spot.
Yeah,
and it was
it's a way to push yourself and keep motivation and like keep grinding, because like there's not some like magic thing that's going to blow you up. It's about just consistency and like keep doing it kind of deal. So it's always been this. The thing that blows you up is the thing you never think is going to blow you up. It's like you never have control over your own blowing up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always like you put your heart and soul into this one project, and then this one over here that you kind of like, you applied your skills to it, but you didn't put your heart and soul into it. But that's the one that resonated with people, and you're like, I guess I'll go fuck myself, right? I mean, I think it's a lot of like if you keep pushing yourself and keep developing, like regardless of like everybody doesn't have the same view you do as like in terms of what's good and what's bad. Yeah. And so as long as you keep improving, eventually you're probably going to hit something right. You're going to hit the nail on the head at some point, even if you didn't intend to. And
eventually, for a shitty analogy for somebody that doesn't play baseball, eventually you become a very I'm not even going to try and do it because I don't even know shit about baseball. Eventually, what you start doing based on all these like fictitious like goals that you create in your mind of like, if I get here, that'll be better. It pushes you along the path of like continuing to grow your skills and get better at things. And eventually everything you do is good. And so then the ability for the outside world to grab a hold of it and start to want to bring you or give you bigger opportunities, the landing pad is larger because you have such a large body of work versus you did one good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So that's kind of how I think it happened for me.
Even a blind squirrel find a nut every now and then.
There you go. That's a better analogy than I would have came out with. I'd have probably got halfway through my analogy and quit.
Well, speaking of baseball, I know that because the Rangers manager, the one that tested positive for cocaine, that was one of his things after, I don't know, one of his just post-game saying they were, hit him with some deep question. He just went, even a blind squirrel find a nut every now and then. I was like, genius, dude. Ron Washington.
Oh, I miss Ron Washington. He looks like he did. Yeah, he did do a lot of cocaine, didn't he? Yeah.
No, that's how he got. He failed a drug test in the major leagues as a manager, and they his defense was it was the first time I'd ever done it, which is the worst defense ever. Especially if you look like Ron. I wish we had the laptop, but I can pull a picture of him up right now because he's the
yeah.
If that guy didn't do cocaine in like the 70s, then fuck me, right?
He looks like he used to pimp bitches in the 70s.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
Just and I love him. He's the old school brother. He'll always be a Ranger great, but yeah, that was the
only person that ever took us to the goddamn World Series.
Twice, back to back.
Yep.
Didn't quite get it. And there's Kyle and the other Kyle are probably snickering right now. I hate them. Sports are dumb anyways.
Yeah, fuck sports. I didn't even watch.
Except the Mavs got Kyrie, baby.
Are we doing good though?
They've lost like 3 games in a row, but they're playing great. It's just they come out of the wrong end. But
I think they're probably. I mean, you get 2 stars. You got to find the dynamic of how it works. Yeah.
I'm low key excited because I don't even know if they've had the All-Star break in the NBA yet.
No, they haven't.
No. So then, yeah,
It's usually like
Phoenix is going to be good by getting Durant, but dude, all of a sudden I was like, I told Amanda that I was like, do I give a fuck about basketball again?
Yeah.
Because I have been in fucking different on the Mavs for a minute.
Yeah.
Luke is nice, but I haven't given a fuck.
we haven't had like a solid team in a minute though. We haven't had like a good group of everything, But now with Kyrie, that could be good.
Those 2 dudes hit their stride together, and plus you got Josh Green, you got a couple other dudes that play pretty good. They can fuck around and do something, man. The next couple of years, the next season, they put another building block on it. It could be.
Yeah, apparently we need a center. Everybody that rides motorcycles is like, I'm fucking out. These dudes are gays.
Just watching the numbers just nosedive.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Basketball, you fucking fat.
I can't even believe I said that. It's February, huh? It's so
It
bad,
is.
dude. Leave it at that. All right, Ben, I'm going to ask you a hard-hitting journalistic question just because I'm better than Jace.
All right.
Who is your least favorite interview? Who's the where you got done with it and you're
that's
like,
good.
dude, I don't want to do that again. Like
He's better than me because I
your
never would
brother.
have thought about
That's
that.
a safe bet. That's a safe question.
No.
You don't obviously I'm kind of bullshitting. You don't really have to say it, but have you? Or without saying their name, have you had one?
To be fair, if you do it, I'll do it.
No, I didn't have any that like I hated kind of deal.
All right, you don't have to say their name, but have you had one where you're all right, man? See you later. That was good. You got in the truck and you're like, never fucking again. Like if I don't see that dude again, I'll be all right.
I've had 1 or 2. Usually, you do like an interview, probably the same thing with podcast, and you get done. You pretty much right off the bat know, like, oh, that's going to be a really good one, or I'm not so sure about that one. I've had 1 or 2 of those that like. I'm like, I'm
talking about you didn't like the dude. I'm not saying like, oh, that may be a good episode.
I haven't had any. I'm like, yeah, I'm never fucking going there again. No, I've not had any of those.
Okay.
So.
All right, Jace, your
I
turn.
don't think I've had. I haven't done a podcast with someone that I just inherently didn't like afterwards. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make sure, like, fuck. I'm sure if I was had a fucking roster right now, like, oh, that dude's fucking weird, or this dude was this.
Yeah, no, and I think it's just the nature of the beast with what you guys do. You're not a generic terrestrial radio, FM radio host where you're doing just interviews across the spectrum where you may run into an asshole.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you're operating kind of in the same world where most people are. What I'm asking is more of obviously it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's like kind of catty even like.
I would say, so if I could have a chance to think too, I'd probably say where I did the worst job. You know what I mean? I think the one that I didn't like the most was the Big Bear podcast. And I don't know if I would say it's his fault. I just think that inherently, when I did the Big Bear podcast, it was a 45-minute podcast because when I showed up to their shop, he started taking me around the shop and literally was telling me everything, started getting into his backstory. I was like, hey, do you want to go get on the microphones and do a podcast? And he looked at me with I'm the dumbest motherfucker he's ever seen in my life. Because I think he thought he was on the podcast already. And so then we go and do the podcast and we sit down and then, it was hard to kind of, sometimes when someone tells you something, it's hard to get that same thing they just said again with it feeling natural. And so that was a really hard one to pull off. And then he had a random phone call in the podcast that I had no idea was going to take place. And he just said, no, I'll take it. And he does this whole spill on, sold him a shit ton of suspension on our podcast. He made out like a bandit, but I just didn't like that. I felt like it wasn't quite the way I'd wanted to do a podcast. And I don't even know if I'd so much say it's his fault as opposed to mine, not taking control of the situation. As far as like podcasts, I feel like I've done a shit job at. Dude, where did I start? Seriously.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those where I feel like the person or the bike deserved a lot better like interview than like I gave it, and it just turned out like shit or whatever.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like Big Trouble's like Road Glide last year. I felt like we could have done a lot better job on that, and that's like on me and asking like better questions, maybe being a little better prepared. Now that one was done like we legit drove overnight to get to Daytona. We did like Ben's, like the Not Very Interested Ben, his Turbo Road Glide.
I remember that.
And then did Big Troubles right after, like 6 a.m. after being up for like 48 hours. So I probably wasn't like in second interview and being up for that long. I probably wasn't the best like mindset to do an interview, but like that was one, like I don't think it was bad. I just wish I would have done a better job because I feel like that bike is one of the better bikes I've had on my channel. And I feel like I did a really poor job of like putting that bike out there for people to see. So I've got some of those, but most of all those are things on me for not doing better as an interview or in production versus like anything to do with the actual like person or their bike kind of deal.
Yeah, there's to that same token. There's sometimes you like, especially when you're traveling and doing podcasts with people, like you don't think that traveling wears on the conversation or wears on your ability to. And I was having almost a 2 to 3 hour prior to podcast window of hanging out with these people that I've never met before. So we're shooting the shit, getting an idea. We're not talking about, honestly, everything that's being said is me getting ammo to bring up into the podcast, but making them more comfortable talking to me as well. And I enjoy that more, but I don't always get that when you're traveling on a podcast. You know what I'm saying? How many... Jaden, when we went to California, did we do any double podcasts in a day, or was it all just one a day kind of things?
Did we? I don't know if we actually did two.
I don't think we did.
Of yours in a day. I feel like the day we went and did
Thrashins. We did Ride Boundless afterwards.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like there might have been one or two where we did one and then it led into something else, but. No, but honestly, because I felt like some of them it kind of took longer. Like I didn't,
because we were
like True Performance. We didn't think we were we thought True Performance would be like a kind of in and out. Man, we ended up hanging with those guys. You took some photos, and that ended up being we left closer to sundown. I mean, that was not an all day thing, but
we were trying. We actually rode PCH that day because we made it all the way down to San Luis Obispo that night.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But that was a day and maybe I'm totally wrong, but that was a day I felt like. We had something maybe lined up for that if time happened, and then time just went like right through, which I wouldn't trade for anything. Like I said, that was one of the days where I showed up, I was hungover I'm not drinking. They open the beer, full stocked cooler or stocked fridge. You want anything? Oh, no, I'm good. All right, man, suit yourself. 30 minutes, okay, I guess give me one of those Coronas. And then by the end of it, I'm like, what's up, guys?
Those guys are good people.
Yeah, you did a fucking you did.
I did one True, and then that was a day I was supposed to. That was right after Gray and I'd finished our big like KTM trip, and I went up there and I was going to try and do like 2 or 3 interviews or whatever. And I think I'd slept like legit like 1 hour the night before, and then drove from like Carlsbad up to like close to San Francisco.
Morgan Hill.
Morgan Hill. There we go. Yeah. And I got through his interview, and I was like, dude, I'm toast or whatever. But we're trying to work our way back out there because I think Emma wants to do one with Steph or whatever. Yeah. She's got like one of my favorite diners.
Yeah, Steph actually, she was damn near the podcast. I mean, at the time, Steven was he was having a lot of dental work done, so he was having a hard time. Like, he had like all this shit in his mouth from like a lot of dental work. So he was trying to talk, but Steph was kind of carrying the show with all that stuff. But no, it's a crazy dynamic, man. Like when you're on when I take a trip, like I want to capture as many podcasts as possible to justify the amount of money it took to go on the trip, right? And you know, when I went to, I flew to Phoenix once and was there for 3 days and did 9 podcasts.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Yeah.
But it was perfect. Like, it all worked out well, right? So I went there. This is when Paint Huffer was still a sponsor. So he set me up with a rental car. So literally I show up, he picks me at the airport, takes me, we get a rental car, and then bam, 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 podcast. Next day, bam, 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 podcast. Last day, same thing, 3 podcasts. And then, you know, you get them all done. And that was like when I did one with like Rebel Reaper, the last Dixon Flannel podcast when I did, Paint Huffers one. Like there was a handful of decent. The first FXR Division podcast. There was a handful of good ones, but when you go on these trips, man, like Phoenix is a not very spread out compared to like even DFW. It's not that bad, right? Everybody's within like 10 miles from each other. When you're in LA, which you know this, like. There was we were going to do a podcast one day, and it was like, this dude can't be done until 6, and he lives it's 50 miles away, which is 2 hours in LA time. It's like, I'm fucking not doing that. And then turn around and coming back, you know what I mean?
I can't do it. I have to like make sure, like, even like this weekend, doing like 3 in a row is like going to be pretty tough for me. Emma coming is going to help out a ton because like I'm pretty introverted, and like, so if I know you, like, it's fine. But like, if I haven't met you before and I have to like, almost like keep up conversation, then also do an interview. Like if I do that in a day with somebody I haven't met, like by the end of it, I'm done. Like I'm like toast, like fucking
drained.
Like, no mental energy. I'm just like drained or whatever, which is great. Well, Emma's a lot more extrovert.
You should do cocaine.
Probably help, right? And so like doing some like back to back to back.
Cocaine.
Like,
hey guys, let's do a bit. You want to do a podcast? Dude. Oh, I mean not a podcast, fucking Spotlight, right? Just be fucking just.
Wound up and go.
What was it, Ben Stiller? What movie was it where he actually did cocaine? He was like, that was Yes Man. Whenever Jim Carrey drinks Red Bull for the first time.
You're a liar, which I don't think I've seen that one either.
Oh, shit.
Jim Carrey, all right. So I was Ace Ventura, The Mask. Like I was that Jim Carrey kid where I was like, this guy can do no wrong. And then for whatever reason, I don't know if it was like high school, he did a stretch. Liar, Liar, Bruce Almighty, all those.
Me, Myself, and Irene.
Dude, I saw Me, Myself, and that's solid. I've seen that one.
That shit holds up. If you go watch it now as an adult, you're like, oh shit, I didn't even see that. I was a kid. That's funny as hell.
He's
peeing in 3 different areas.
The boner peeing. That was awesome. But Jim Carrey for me I had like a dark period for whatever reason. I don't know if I subconsciously did it. I just didn't see anything the fuck he did for like a long time, short of Me, Myself.
What was that Eternal Sunshine for
Never saw it.
I never saw
the
that.
number.
So that was that number 23 was kind of like pretty good, but it was like a thriller kind of thing. Yes Man is not so much the Jim Carrey that we grew up on, but it was a good story that kind of like is a positive way to think and live life, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not anti Jim Carrey. I'm saying this is one of those unexplainable. You just do things in your life. You look back, you're like, oh, I don't know why. That's one of those things where I don't know. I don't remember going like, fuck Jim Carrey. But for whatever reason, I just fell off and I did not see anything he's done in so long, including some bangers. Like there's, the ones you just mentioned.
Truman Show.
I feel like I've seen like half of it,
Yeah.
but I just never.
There's some good shit there.
None of the Christmas ones. I didn't see
The Grinch?
The Grinch.
What?
I didn't see the Lemony Snickets. Yeah. Like, there's a bunch of stuff, and I'm not saying they're bad. I didn't see the Andy Kaufman thing. At some point, I need to go back through and just run through his catalog. But man, I think I quit after like Ace Ventura 2 or something.
But you'll watch Sopranos how many times?
Oh, dude, I'm running through it again. Like
How many times have you seen it now?
I don't even know. Honestly, I've lost count. I'm right around 10. Like, no bullshit, just full times through 10. Yeah. And this time I've got a man on. Like, we finished it, and we get in that rut where, what do you want to watch, right? And I can only go so far where you go, fuck it, dude, just throw. And the fact that she hasn't seen them all multiple times, she's still in.
Multiple times.
So I'll throw it on, and, dude, I love every episode like it's the first time I've seen it. And then the fact that she watches them too, and it's just kind of always, it's our default. It's
a good time to have like a TV show or movie that you like, and a lot of times like if you don't want to like 100% engage in something, just throw that shit on, and you'll halfway watch it and you halfway do other shit, and like
Kind of like The Office for a lot of people. They just put it on in the background kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like background noise. Or
That was I Love
Lucy.
Lucy when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used to love that show.
I've seen that
It's,
shit
yeah, it's the
forever.
equivalent of reruns of just putting on something for reruns. But like I said, we don't have traditional cable, so it's one. Of those, every time you watch TV,
A Seinfeld
Seinfeld's
guy.
the greatest show ever.
Yeah.
No, I don't know anybody like that. I know there's people that exist.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. Not the greatest show it's ever. I mean, been.
No.
But it's funny. It's not bad. And I have gone back. I haven't gone back and started the whole thing. But when I do go back and watch a random episode, they're funny. Sometimes way funnier than I thought. And I always think, should I start at the beginning and just? And I'm like, nah. I never make it to it.
So I'd seen random shows, and we actually did the full like watching Seinfeld from the beginning, like 7 or 8 months ago, or whatever.
Was he good?
Yeah, it wasn't like best show ever, kind of good, but I guess it was good enough for us to watch it all the way through.
I mean, is it
but-
good for the context of when it was made? If you think about it like that, right? Like if you think about a show,
Oh, I think it was ahead of its time for when it was made. Because a lot of it, would you say, having just watched them, would you say a lot of them still hold up as funny wise?
Yeah.
So then, it was ahead of its time for sure. Especially when you look back at that era and the shows that they were doing, and how, I mean, but Seinfeld's a comedic genius. Like he's just he may not be your favorite comic, but you can't dispute it. The guy's a comedic genius, just with the way he says stuff. The fact him being a clean comic, he's just, and everybody will say that. Chappelle, whoever you think is a comedic OG, they'll go, dude. Seinfeld's A1. Like he's right up there with the best of them.
he's the richest comedian ever.
He's
I watched that YouTube video. You ever watch those YouTube videos where they talk about like they show the graphs that go over time,
I don't think I have.
and it like will say like, oh, this is the the highest, then the Titanic, and then the Marvel, and it's like these constant like graphs growing. YouTube videos, social media apps, and how it grows. Like fucking follow
Like social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or whatever it is. I don't think it was on YouTube. I did see something somewhere.
Yeah. So I don't know if we ever asked you this in like the first podcast you did, but like what got you into this whole thing in the first place? Like shooting photos, wanting to do video and all that stuff.
So I guess it really started as a hobby. Like I've always like ridden or whatever, and I've always been like a little bit like fairly artistic or whatever, like drawing and shit like that growing up. And we'd take trips or whatever, go like, we did a trip with my daughter, like when she was, I don't know, it's been 7 or 8 years ago to like, to Utah, went to like Bryce and like Zion, all that kind of stuff. And I took my little GoPro and I created us our own little like personal video. So into that way. And then I take a photo camera and I do stuff here and there, but nothing ever serious. And I guess I started getting more into it as a hobby. And then I guess initially, a couple of years ago, some of the guys in Nashville like started like stunting like some of those early like Club South Tennessee guys and stuff like that. And I'd go out there with them and like beat on the Dyna that Emma's riding now, and pretty quickly realized that like I wasn't getting anywhere with that. And so we had a camera, and so I'd start taking the camera out there because we'd go out on Saturdays or Sundays or whatever, and I'd start shooting a little bit. And I think like it just kept growing from there, and I started taking it a little more seriously. I'd get a better camera so I could do this kind of deal and starting other stuff.
I mean, you literally just did what I was talking about. Like you weren't the Willie guy, so you found what you can do to make this thing better in your own way. Yeah,
100%. And then I got some opportunities from there that kind of helped pushing it, and then I took photography a little more seriously. And the whole time I'm like riding and doing bike trips, and I'd do a lot of photos on my bike trips and stuff like that, and just kind of kept growing. And then the idea I had for the channel is nothing like earth shattering. The car industry's been doing this for freaking forever kind of deal. And I was like, well, this is a way I can like show off some of my photography, like show some cool builds, help a bunch of like maybe like smaller shops or builders out that aren't going to get notoriety, that I can maybe like do a little something for them to put like some stuff out there kind of deal. And just kind of kept expanding and going from there. So
with that said, have you thought of, and to go back earlier, as far as changing things up and just always evaluating the future, have you thought about shifting some of the showcases or spotlights from necessarily a guy who, your bike, your build, to maybe doing more of almost like an MC shop tee, but in a video version where you're going to do a spotlight on this shop and maybe whatever they want to present at the time, but this is so-and-so garage and so-and-so state.
yeah. So like I'm working on something now. I've kind of filmed one of them. I've got a couple more planned to film where I'm kind of like taking myself out of the picture altogether. And it's an interview. It's just somebody else talking about themselves and their shop, kind of getting their whole story out there. Usually there's still going to be like a bike involved, but more or less getting their story out there, what they do, and their bike. And so it's just going to be like, in essence, I'm still interviewing them, but like you're never going to hear or see me on the camera. It's just them talking. Like I feel like you see that in the car world a lot, and it's like some much higher level production, but it's just like a mini documentary about them. And it's not just about their bike like I do now. It's more or less about like their overall story and what they do. And so I'm working on doing some of that.
At that point, though, like doing something like that, that could be a huge, like, fuck yourself, right?
Well,
I'm building a platform to like.
Well, I'm saying like like what you're doing right now, where like you are dabbling with a lot of different brands. Like you just did the one Forever Rad and countless others, right? But if you were to go do this whole spotlight on just the shop, like that's value, right, to that shop. Like how, like, and we're talking like 2, 3, 4 days worth of work to create that thing that this shop is not paying any kind of money for. Like that's hard to justify. It's easier to justify to make content on someone that's not directly benefiting as far as like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that 100% makes to make that financial worth it. Yeah, my YouTube needs to continue to grow.
Hey, and SNS, let me come to your shop and film for a day and a half, and go back home and spend 3 days fucking editing a video to put out to show the world about who you are, and you're not paying me for that. That's hard. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. There's going to be like some like give and take. That's where sponsorship play in, or maybe they are paying for certain parts of that. But you go to some of these car channels that people are doing this on, like what I'm talking about doing. Like people have been doing this for fucking years. And you'll go to some of these videos and they have like millions of followers, and like one random video that's 6 minutes long will have like $8 million views. Like at that point, like I can help them out. I'm growing your brand. You're giving me like a big video to put out that I'm making money on kind of deal. So I can help you out without like you, especially if you're a smaller shop, putting out a big like financial burden. Now, obviously, I'm going to be a much less like a big company like SNS house for that to sit at.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was never, when I said it, I made the reference to MC Shop Tees, and what I meant by that is that's the thing that Dan does, where he finds he highlights one small independent shop, and he does a one-off, artwork T-shirt for that month of the year that's featured that shop, whether it's a little bio or whatever the fuck, because of the postcard and T-shirt on a one-off design. So that's kind of what I was thinking, more like a, God, I don't want to name any names, but like a hang 'em high custom. You know what I mean? Like this time we're talking, it's not just this one build, but it's, hey, this time we're talking about this.
Well,
and with the goal being, I see what you're saying too. The goal being you do a couple of those and these shops see, then all of a sudden that maybe transition into.
Well, yeah, if you had like, what's your MC Shop T subscription? $20 a month?
23, yeah.
$23 a month. Like you have that paying him, which he can then pay this, and that it like there's money there. The thing is about social media and YouTube is that it's all essentially free, and because essentially, like people think, in some cases, yes, people do make a lot of money on YouTube, but they're usually the videos that they look the same. The ones that are trying to do uniquely something different are the ones that are like not making any money. Like until we start doing like the whole clickbait shit, just what happened to my bike in Dallas today, and nothing happened. That's those guys make money.
Oh yeah,
us doing like a podcast or a spotlight, like we were just talking about earlier, like, on average, I think that like through doing these live videos, I think on average every month and a half to 2 months, I make about $200 a month. So $100 a month, $100 a month I make doing YouTube. And honestly, if it keeps going well, I can almost pay for one of these cameras next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's this weird thing where it's like, there is money being made, right? And the same thing is happening for this. It's like, yes, I want to make commercials for this live. You know how dope it'd be if like we could just go take a piss break and you could just run 3 commercials right quick for the live? Thundermax, Simpson, Lexin, fucking Cowboy Harley, all this stuff while we're going to piss. And then it's there. It's like people see it. It advertises like that. That's where I want to be. But, I gotta go paint your bike so you can get best of show at fucking Daytona right now. Like I gotta do all this other shit, right? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just bitching. This is the bitching hour. So.
Well, yeah. Well, my thing was not necessarily, like I said, the question didn't fully think out like the monetary issue. It was just in the spirit of changing things up and always evolving. At some point, have you thought of it maybe instead of an individual dude, maybe doing more of a thing? But again, I see how that runs into way muddier waters. So I'll go fuck myself.
Well, I mean, like I got lots of different things I want to try and do. A lot of it's like time coming out.
Yeah.
Like I want to get in like some more documentary stuff. I like to do start doing some videos I put out are more like on events versus just like a bike build.
Yeah.
Like I go to an event. Like I put out like a short 2-minute long video at from Born Free last year. It was like a quick highlight kind of stuff. But maybe I would like to start doing some more of that stuff to where it's like I don't know, it would be super long, like 5 or 6 minutes, like kind of capture like the vibe of the event, maybe like get some interviews from people that are attending or people that are putting it on. And so stuff like that, or like behind the scenes. I mean, there's a lot of different things I want to try, but a lot of it's just like, it's time. Like,
Yeah. On his note, I would say like you want to make content that's kind of like universally kind of consumed, where it promotes some like a broader thing, right? But if you start leaning too deep into like different shops and things like that, there's some point where it becomes like I'm just working for them, promoting them for some, whatever. And in some cases, like the channel that I'm promoting it on, like I don't gain enough that they will gain more out of it, right? I don't know. I'm trying to bring that back up, but I'm just saying.
It's like I'm here to like
whiskey hits harder, dude. Jake, let me put it on me. Thanks for the birthday, whiskey, Jake. Red breast. That sounds. I'm turned on now. Red titties. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's actually pretty fucking good. So I'm glad I finally got to open it with you, bud.
There you go, man.
Well,
You can't have any though.
To what you're saying, Ben, the like event videos, those in a world where we've all gotten so spoiled so quick on reels and people making good reels, but it still falls in a thing. When I do see that top notch, the quality. I mean, I've said it before in this podcast. The quality that you produce, same thing. 2 Lane Life. You guys are on another level than 98% of everybody else. When I see the videos that that quality put out of like of board, dude, those are best. Those are the ones I watch 3 or 4 times a day, whether I was there or not. Those are the ones where sometimes it's 2 minutes, 2.5. It's longer than a reel. It's when you have to like double click on it to watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. The ones that are really, dude, those are some of my favorite.
You know what I fucking hate about reels? Let me tell you why.
I'm not talking about reels. I'm talking about when you put an actual video.
You brought some in my mind and whatnot.
You hear me though, Whiskey Boy?
I do. Yeah. Okay. So we did, down south camp out too. When Steve did the burnout, and everybody that caught that video and posted it went fucking viral, right? I did a deeper version of that video showing like Steve riding around doing the burnout, then us running back to our car as we were fucking escaping the bar of death. And that video did well for the rest of my Reels play bonus. And then as soon as the bonus was over, it went from like 60,000 views or 70,000 views to 3.1 million, right? So I put this video out there that hit that high end spot, but I got nothing on that 3.1 million because it was out of the Reels play area. So it's like you put this content on Instagram, and then if it does, air quotes, go viral, if it's not within the Reels play bonus area, then you're the only person that benefits is Instagram. Yeah. Have you ever noticed now on Instagram, if you go to someone's page and you start scrolling down their photos, there'll be an ad in there?
I have not.
I was just telling somebody the other day that I feel like they've kicked in high drive with the with ads and stuff. Like if you're whether you're going through stories, I feel like you get an ad real quick, and then if you're watching like a reel, and then you know how you can keep going from that. Like all of a sudden, I feel like I do 2 of those now, and I get an ad like every. So, I feel like it's out of control.
I'm on someone's Instagram page right now. Think About It Maps. I love him. Great page. Good follow. If you click the photo, now I'm looking at their photo directly. If you scroll 1, 2, let's see how long it takes before I get an ad. Don't fuck me right now. Come on, dude. Hold on.
No, you're not gonna get one.
Yep, I'm not getting one. I guess I'll go fuck myself. So the other day, I was doing this. I was on someone's page and I was scrolling down looking at some photos, and then I kept seeing ads. I'm like, oh shit, I thought I was looking at so-and-so's page, and now I'm looking at fucking this. And it made no sense, and I just completely null and void my fucking argument right now. But
Is it like a personal setting, somebody else you can set up on your own page to get ads or whatever?
I mean, if you could put, if I could put on my page, like, hey, if you come to my page and look at my photos, then there's ads paid for this. I want Instagram to just put out the content you put out.
Yeah.
And if you want to go make content that you get paid on, go to YouTube. That's where that needs to be.
No. Instagram is now downtown Nashville too. It's all corporate. Somebody's making money on every fucking thing you do. Just like you're talking about the barbershop and all the, all the businesses. Dude, anytime there's a big thing like that, the vultures come in and somebody's going to make money on every fucking aspect of it. And that's what Instagram's done now. And it's as bad. For whatever reason, I have about a tenth of the patience for Facebook. Like I'll doom on Facebook. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm out of here.
I don't even know how to use it anymore.
But yeah,
I know how to use Marketplace.
I don't fuck around in any of the mechanics of it at all. I scroll a couple times and then I'm done. Where Instagram still holds my attention interface wise, but that's only a matter of time too before I get out on that where I'm like, I'm fucking done.
Dude,
too.
if we could just set up profiles on Pornhub now.
It's
Just share videos that maybe you found in the deep cut. You hey, dude, this was a fucking banger. Think about it.
I've done that in the group chat once. Remember one time I took a screenshot and I was like, guys, I was scrolling, getting it on in the hub, and I was like, I saw this, and it was one of the things where I'm looking,
Was it that dude?
I've still got it. And I was like, this literally made me fucking laugh out loud as I'm in a jerk session. I was like, I needed y'all all to see it too. It'll take me a second to find it, but it was some guy. I'll find it, but that's the way social media.
The fact that you can get back to Pornhub that quick, I'm fucking
No,
proud.
I'm looking for the screenshot.
That shit bookmarked.
I remember our buddy Marcus sent me a fucking screen on a bike or whatever. Yeah.
It was something about chubby Tinder date showed up, but it was hilarious. I was like, guys, this literally made me stop what I was doing and laugh out loud. I need y'all to see it.
But it's like, what if Pornhub all of a sudden becomes what YouTube and all that shit is, and they got fucking
It's the next big thing.
it's like they gotta have thumbnails to get you to click on and jerk off for fucking 30 seconds and shit on it. You know what I mean?
No, man, the hub, that's a site that I'm not on a second longer than I have to. That's one of the where I'm
Not even gonna leave the browser going. Just get rid of it all.
Oh, dude, I feel like just whether it's China or somebody's, I just recording every keystroke. So I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry. As long as mine, that's almost like I don't have to be faster than a bear. I just have to be faster than the slowest person I'm with. As long as the porn I'm looking at is not the worst of all my friend group, I'm good, or family. And I feel pretty good about it. There's some shit I'm not proud about, but I'm just trusting that there's somebody I know that's looking at worse. And if it all comes out, I'm like, oh, well, at least I'm not him. You know what I mean? I'm just.
I love it. Yeah. 100%. Care to chime in?
Pleading the fifth here, man.
You mentioned Born Free. Yeah, go. You mentioned Born Free earlier. Do you miss seeing me naked, Ben?
I do. That was the highlight of the trip. I'm not gonna lie. It was the best part, without a doubt.
What do you mean? And I said, I'm not even really walk around naked guy that much, but I was like, we had this big house that didn't belong in the neighborhood it was in. You definitely had a feeling pornos had been shot in that house.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I said, we hadn't been there an hour, barely on the bikes unloaded. I said, for whatever reason, I just thought it was funny. I just walked in the common area where everybody was hanging out, just completely naked, having a conversation, and said, of course, Jetty threw something at me. I think Justin walked away. Jace just laughed. I felt the worst because you were on the couch. And it was just... What a weekend, right?
Yeah.
Born Free.
That was a good time. I actually
was
enjoyed
such
the
a
trip
good
going
time,
for you. I think Emma and I are talking about actually riding out to that next year, but that was It's definitely a different event than the other stuff I've been to. That was a blast. So it was a good time.
Yeah, I hadn't been to Born Free, California on a bike, so that was a first for me. Us being on the road for working with Simpson, during the event, it was just I couldn't imagine anything better.
Yeah, that was a good time. So
The ride back, we've talked about going through your phone sometimes, not always posting stuff, but man, that's when I always look for that little strip where we go through like Coachella. We left that house at 3:20 in the morning. You took a different direction, but man, we went through the desert. We had this one gas stop as the sun was just starting to, and then the whole next gas stop was just. You just wanted your phone out the whole time. You're like, everything about this is magical.
that trip back was one of like my best trips because I guess I just kind of somewhat finished putting the bike together before Born Free. There's a lot of shit that wasn't working right on it. Like Justin helped me get like some of the wiring, electrical shit that was all like fucked up beforehand. But like my clutch was slipping like crazy the whole time. My check engine light, depending on like what time of the day I cranked the bike up, my check engine light would come on. I was having all kinds of issues or whatever. And so the whole ride out there, like the ride was enjoyable at the same time. Like, you know, when you don't have a lot of confidence, really trust the bike, it's not a lot of fun. I mean, so it was enjoyable. But then the ride back, for some reason, like that whole like the 2 or 3 days in LA, like I couldn't get on a stoplight without the thing just like the clutch slipping or like the check engine light would come on. But then I left like at 3:30 a.m. that morning. And from there all the way back to Nashville. Like I left LA at 3:30 a.m. Monday morning. I was in Nashville like at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, even with the time change. Legit, like the check engine light would just come off and on the whole time. But when I left LA, it didn't come on 10:30 or something like that. And legit, the bike was fine until like a mile from the house. It's like the check engine light started coming back on, and it was just like,
but a good solo ride back.
Yeah, it was great because I don't know, awesome. Like I feel like because it'd been kind of a hectic like month or two up to Born Free. I wasn't at home. I was like at Grady's working on the bike or going to do some other stuff, and so it was kind of just like a whirlwind to get there, and it was kind of hectic. And so the way home was just like me, and I was able to like I don't know, get my own headspace and like zone out and kind of stuff like that, and just like 2 1K in a days, and it was awesome. So
yeah, one of those solo trips you just needed.
Yeah. Trust me, man. That whole month of June is going down in the books as we were gone total of 29 days, right?
Okay.
28 days. So I don't know, man. Like it was, you know, Jaden said it best. It was a month of Saturdays. You know what I mean? Every day it was another day of not going to work and riding motorcycles. You know what I'm saying? So we rode some of the best parts of this country, and some of which we still haven't even peeled the onion back enough.
Yeah,
dude, it was amazing.
I'm hoping to get back up because y'all did a lot in like the Pacific Northwest, like Idaho.
We didn't do as much up there. We did the bare minimum of like zigzagging through it and trying to capture as much as we could. And we would have stayed with the rest of the group when we left Boise. That's where we split up. Mm-hmm. They went to Idaho Falls, Twin Falls. And hooked up with like wood grain FXR, and then they went and saw where like Evil Knievel tried to jump the Snake River and all that stuff. Like there was definitely more we could have seen hanging with the dudes, but you know, life was calling us back to the fucking ocean. So you know, but they didn't see the Mormon crickets, which we did.
Yeah, and that's as far as that goes, man. How many times, you know, to be able to do PCH one way is awesome. But to be able to do it the other way, you know what I mean? In the same kind of span, it's just a whole other thing. And I'm happy for those guys, but it's the same thing. I wouldn't trade my, you know, because I know there are 8. So those 6 dudes, every 6 of them, I know they absolutely would have done the same thing, given the chance if they had to. Like I was in a very unique, you know, set of circumstances where I was able to do it. But given if they were all in the same set of circumstances, there's no doubt in my mind that all 6 of them would have done the exact same thing. Could they have? And just the way it worked out. So
100%. I'm hoping.
Yeah, and then when you guys ended up showing up in Born Free, it was like I felt like the guys that's been at the bar for fucking 30 days, and then your homie shows up like 2 hours before it's over. You're like, black ass, you know, like you're just happy. You know what I mean? It was good to see, like, you know, you guys, Jetty, Justin, y'all showing up, Chance coming back through. It was like I don't know, it felt really reinvigorating. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Chance for sure. You know, Chance had been on the trip, the whole Northwest trip with us. He's part of the big trip group. So him showing back up, any sort of, okay, dude, I've been gone 3.5 weeks now. I'm starting to get a little road weary. Money's starting to. Any sense of that? When Chance showed back up, it was, it's out. You know, it was more of a, we're here for born fucking free. You know what I mean? We rode here. We're riding the fuck back. We've got, you know, that was because we saw Chance either a day before or like half a day. No, a day before because we stayed in that one motel. We saw Chance, I guess, a day before you guys got there. And then when you, JD, and Justin all showed up.
Well, because
it was.
Yeah, because we met him at some shell off the interstate here in Dallas or whatever, and rode from here to like Phoenix with him. And you never would have known, like, he just finished like 28 or 29 days on the bike. He showed up like ready to go and rode to like Phoenix with us. And then I guess he went on and we stayed in Phoenix waiting on Jetty and hung out like at Trask for a day or whatever. And so, but yeah, he showed up like whatever restaurant, whatever gas station we were at, like ready to roll. Like you never thought he'd been on a bike for like 29 days. Like I'd have been worn out and like.
Well, no, he'd
was
been on
ready to
one
go.
for every bit of 2.5 weeks for sure. But he got home. This is the best thing about Chance and that whole trip was he got home, you know, he's kind of happy to be back, but also like, man, I still got 2 of my buddies out on the road in California. He gets home. The fucking wife's not happy. The kid's not happy. They immediately start to – he said it before. I'm not blowing this scene up, but he mentioned that he got enough just almost like first world problems where he goes, fuck this. I think he hit up us. He hit up you guys. He figured out how to do it, and then he rolled with y'all. And, yeah, I think he just got antsy in Phoenix. He's like, I'm fucking out of it. I'll see you guys today or tonight or whatever.
Because I think we had like a completely different trip plan initially. And I think Jetty wound up leaving late because I think his daughter's softball game or the softball tournament, they were in some kind of tournament or something like that. And then Big Trouble wasn't able to make it. And so I think our plans got completely like changed around or whatever. And like we wound up just almost for the most part like bombing out there versus making a trip out of it. But it was still a good time, yeah.
What Chance did should be one of those be a man spots where, you know, be gone 2 weeks. When your wife and your kid get on your nerves 12 hours after being home, leave again for another week and a half. Be a man. That's basically what he did.
Yeah. That was the first trip I actually started liking like the lowrider STs and like the ST fairing and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like because beforehand, I didn't like the way they looked in photos and stuff. But then like rolling down the interstate next to that thing, I was like, that looks good or whatever. And so that was the first time like I actually started digging like the new ST fairings and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I'm excited to get mine. So see how that goes. You know what I mean?
You got an ST? Lowrider? All right.
I hope people don't like wear them out. I feel like people are putting like the FXRT fairings on like fucking everything. FXRs, road
somebody made a
kings and shit
repop.
like that.
If maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah,
but I thought
TOL did. Yeah.
But it's for Dynas, right? Aren't they?
Yeah, they'll fit on anything.
Okay.
Baggers, all that shit. Yeah. It's I mean, I don't know. Like I you know, I want to do another bike. I put up the bagger for sale. It didn't sell, which is probably it is what it is. I already had the 10 sold, so whether or not the bagger sold or not, I was going to sell the 10s regardless. So I have a set of gray ST10s on the bike now. I sold the current. Like I have the bagger still. Definitely going to redo it.
What's going to be big at Daytona? I know like Millhouse is building his. I think RG Destroyer. I think I've seen a couple of stories. Is he building a new one?
I think he is. I haven't seen. I don't know. I don't know much if it's done or not. Put it like this: Daytona is always going to be an East Coast like unveiling for like that world's shows, and I'm excited. I think Millhouse's bike's going to be pretty fucking fly as hell. I saw some pictures of it, and then I don't know anybody else building a bike. I mean, I'm honestly pretty excited to see it.
Okay.
I'm excited to see what people do. I'm excited to see if like the flavor has changed at all.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Would you go as far as to say right now it's like performance baggers are getting the spice isn't spicy anymore?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's gotten a little bit a little stale. I don't feel like you see a whole lot new coming out there. Maybe that's because there's some nice bikes coming out. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Like the chopper roll, you get a lot of unique stuff from like fabrication and paint shit like that. With like the performance bagger scene, like I feel like you're seeing a lot of the same shit. And so I think it makes maybe it's getting a little stale because of that. We're not really seeing a whole lot of new things.
That's why I guess that's why I'm so interested in doing an ST right now. I don't even know what they fucking ride like, to be completely honest with you. I could have just fucking financed a bike that I don't even like. To be
Find out, right?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the. I don't know. I'm excited to see what people are bringing to Daytona. I mean, I've painted a few bikes, but when I went to Covington's, I painted a big wheel. Mm-hmm. That's probably a pretty wild paint job, and then I painted one that's a full like performance bagger with like carbon fairing, carbon parts, a lot of that stuff on it, and it should be pretty fly. I think the paint job is a little bit more understated than what it's going to look like when you put the rest of the bike to it. So it's like the paint job complements the bike; it doesn't make it.
Yep.
I know Jeremy's probably got a couple things in the works. I'm excited for. I don't know if the whole world's seen his lowrider yet.
That's debuting in Daytona, right?
I think it's debuted in Daytona. That'd be pretty good. But I wonder if, like, right now, like, the bagger thing is, I wonder if people are, maybe the bigger shops or maybe some of us that's done a couple of performance baggers, we're like, well, let's just hang back and see if they really do drop these new baggers next year.
Everybody's waiting.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, a couple people that are, like, wanting to buy, like, a new road glider, a new bagger, like Grady's one of them, and they're just kind of, like, before they dump a bunch of money in a new bike, they're kind of waiting to see what, like, Harley's coming out with. Because you want to, like, buy something now and then, like, later this year they come out with an ST with a 131 or they come out with, like, the monoshock bagger or whatever it is. So I feel like a lot of people are, in terms of, like, buying something to start building, I feel like a lot of people are just, like, hanging out, waiting kind of deal.
Agreed, yeah. It's kind of a limbo state because you don't know what they're going to do. And honestly, even though I don't think we have the time for this right now, but even this fucking, this new, Buell,
yeah.
I mean, that's not scheduled to come out till the 2025. It's kind of a ways out. Are we still going to be interested in FXR style looking? But could be a good vibe. I don't know.
Sure, I think it's been floating around a couple of days, but
yeah,
it's at the top of my list to go back and read about. But
I watched a video about it today. It's so it's Buell's new motor that they just came out with, and
it looks like an FXR. I mean, as far as
we'll
see what happens in 2025. Like, I don't expect the next 3 years for people to just quit liking those bikes.
I don't either, but at the same time, like, what's the price tag going to be on something like that? And
sure.
Am I going to be spending $25,000 on a bike like that, or is that going to be like a $12,000 to $15,000 bike? If that's $12,000 to $15,000, then 100%, I'll probably get one of those things.
Well, it's one of those things that, and I'm getting out of my lane on this, but how much is that going to affect with the racing world? Kind of, and all of a sudden this, I don't want to say pro stock, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden the king of the bagger racing league, all of a sudden this wave of, hey, your average guy, fucking do this and this and this to your bike and start riding on the track. That looks like a pretty track, you know what I mean? Like,
you heard it here first, courtesy of Red Breast.
I mean, is that something that
I don't think that the bagger racing thing is going to last that much longer, not because of the racers, because of the promotion people behind it. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong because I've enjoyed seeing all, like, Steve Chamberlain, Arnie Wells, all these dudes killing that shit. But these companies are failing at the aspect of promotion. They are now fight promoters. They're now the UFC. They're now promoting events, and they suck at it. And they think that, they can just hire some fucking marketing firm to do this, and it doesn't work that way because these people they hire to fucking market these things don't understand this world, and so they campaign to the wrong world. Therefore, all these people are raised and spending their own money trying to get sponsors to go put it into a place where there's no eyeballs, right? These platforms need to create eyeballs so that these sponsors can get or these riders can get sponsored and have a place to go ride their bikes, and it's not coming out of their pocket. So there's just a lot wrong with it. And if they want to fucking hire me to consult, I'm fucking available. I'll fuck with them. But I'm not coming in and kissing anybody's ass. I'm going to tell you why you're fucked up and you're wrong. And how you need to bring back the F word onto your fucking platform.
I'll give you one more further on that as far as the racing stuff. That's 100% word of mouth. I mean, I follow all the same accounts everybody else does. I probably even follow Bagger Racing or whatever the fuck. I don't see stuff regularly from it.
No.
And I definitely, you know what I don't do as far as something I bitched about earlier, seeing ads every third post, every third story, whatever the fuck. I don't ever see anything about that, letting me know that they're coming to this town or whatever the fuck. I would go. You know what I mean? I've got
So now you're in our boat, right? So this is our boat where we see all these discrepancies and how these brands work, and we have a solution, but we want to be paid to solve these problems.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, Bagger Racing League, we want to be on the podcast. You want to do this? You want me to help you fucking like generate some buzz? You know, give you some like some of the audience that we've created to help talk like.
Yeah, it's almost like there's this giant disconnect. They don't get it. Who do you think is going to look at this and go, oh, fuck, dude, why haven't they been racing these? It's not people into racing. They're not race bikes. This is it's borderline retarded. Am I wrong? You're appealing to the grassroots people. They're the fucking idiots that already have these things. This is I can make my bike. This is like the epitome of a cottage industry waiting to happen. You're not appealing to people that are already on your level. In fact, they're probably looking, what the fuck are these idiots doing? If you're not appealing to the hog chapter guy and everybody, you know what I mean, then what the fuck are you doing? But yet, I am that guy, and I don't get any of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get anything across, like, not even a, hey, whiff of this. If I didn't go to events and know people that talked about it, I wouldn't know this shit existed. You know what I mean? If I was if I was a casual on the fringe, if I had a road glide that I put
you had to work to like
8,000 miles on a year, I wouldn't know about it. I wouldn't know a fucking thing about it. So it's just like, what are y'all doing? Who are you? There has to be an advertising budget in there somewhere. Where is it going? Like, make it make sense kind of thing. Who are you advertising to?
90%.
Because it ain't me.
90% of their business is advertising. It's advertising the race, the riders, and the event. That's the whole point of what BRL is supposed to be. And then Moto America, they're a bigger company that's in the world of street bikes, right? So they're not trying to appeal to our world at all. So now it's left on the backs of all the racers to go in there and be the marketers for this brand. It's a fucking dumb system. Yeah. It's not going to work.
Well, like Moto America is just like, in essence, you have Harley and Indian racing there, and that's it, right? Where BRL is when you get all the independent guys.
Yeah.
Like Moto America is just like...
Moto America is a little bit more elite and stuff like that. But the thing is, what I'm getting at is Moto America is a big company, and they market a lot to the world they work in, but they don't market... They're not looking at this world of Harley riders and thinking about how do we turn these people into watchers of our thing. They're like, no, we'll let you race here because these people have to pay a lot of money to race within their circuit. Mm-hmm. And they don't they're not creating anything, right? To make this shit work, you have to be the UFC idea. You have to be the Ferretta Brothers, whatever the fuck. You got to be these guys where your job is to put this event on and promote it to sell more pay-per-views, tickets, and eyeballs, and it helps the guy fighting. He gets a chance to race here, so now he gets a fucking way where this place has already created the eyeballs. He gets to say, look, I'm in it. I'm good enough to be here. Now, do you guys want to help me do this? I'll put your name on my bike. Now, he has a legitimate platform where he can sell advertisement space to help make that racing more feasible, right? But if they don't do their job to create the eyeballs, then now this racer has to also be doing the BRL's job, which is not supposed to be this way. That's why it's not going to work. That's why it's not going to last, because it takes a while to build Rome, right? Is that a good fucking...
I hate it. It sounds like fanboying over here, but Steve Chamberlain, the definition of I bought a van, the definition of a privateer, if you've ever raced motocross or anything, this guy bought a van to transport his bike up there. Why should he have to sell your sport? This is a guy you as a company, if you're not looking at his numbers and seeing what he's doing, if you can't see that this is a guy to invest in that could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could, I don't want to say exploit, but instead of Steve trying to sell me on the thing, you should be using him to sell a bunch of more fucking people. That's the way it seems in my dumb brain.
I think that it's insane how anybody can come into the motorcycle industry and not realize this, and not realize that, like, if you want to create something big like this, then you have to, the off season is when you're putting in more effort to create hype for the next coming season, right? Like it's basic promotion is all it is. You know what I mean? So like I said, if you guys want to fucking, hey, I'll give you a discount because I like your brand. You know what I mean? I'll fuck with you. I'll help you out. I don't understand. Like, why don't people like? Is the corporate world full of too many yes men and not people that are going to stand up and say like, hey man, this is not a good idea. This is dumb. Why are we doing it this way?
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, I think it's filled with too many people that are out of touch from the product on the street they're selling. I think you said marketers and consultants. You know, because like there's a funny line about consultants. I forget what it is, but it's, you know what I mean. They're like seagulls. They fly in, shit on stuff, and fly out. Like consultants are the worst. Like
there are ways for them to get their stuff out there and like generate interest for like the racing season and like when it's happening, what's going on. They just got to get out there and do it, kind of deal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put them out this weekend. I'm filming something with Cody. We're gonna do like a little racing thing and like what it takes to be like.
Is that BRL though? I think that's Moto. Was BRL going to a Coda?
Cody. Like,
Coda.
no. Yeah, but that's
he's racing BRL. Yeah, no. Like,
that's another prime example of somebody that they should be rallying behind. A guy who already has a following. But Cody Melton shouldn't be having to sell this fucking racing.
Yeah,
you should be seeing the fucking asset you have and marketing him. Fuck, he's doing the work for you.
BRL or BRL or whatever should be hiring you to go do all these spotlights with these brands to get to provide, you know, value to their company to create like teams. Like, you know why we like individualized sports is to rally behind somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want to hear a story and we want to that's my fucking guy. I don't know his political views. I don't know shit. But I like the way he looks and he carries himself, and I hope he beats that dude's ass up because he's darker.
Even just the generic, the main sports, it's just location. A lot of people, it's regional. You identify with who you're fucking close to.
Cowboys, baby.
Here's an idea. Like, I'm kind of going to somewhat do this for like Cody or whatever, which is going to indirectly help them out. But like an idea for them is like, so I'm a big fan of like strongman, like World's Strongest Man, Arnold's Classics, or whatever. And so like every year they have like Arnold Classic, like strongman event in like Cleveland, Ohio, like in March or whatever. And so like Rogue, who's like a big like company for like weightlifting, and they're like the big, I think, primary sponsor. They do like this road to the Arnold's every year. And so throughout like the little wintertime period, like months before the actual event takes place, they do all these like cool little documentaries on people that are competing, that would be like Cody or Steve or all these guys, and it generates interest and shit like that. Like, think about something like that in like the motorcycle industry and like how cool it would be to watch that shit like leading up to
100%.
Some of these seasons and shit like that.
I mean, if BRL or any of these companies were to lean into you to create this type of shit, first off, now that you're also known within the world of what you're doing, it's like, fuck, now we're supporting two homies. Like that. We love that. But we all would know what they're going to do. They're going to fucking see what you do and say, we'll hire a fucking marketing team out of fucking Salt Lake to do this shit. Yeah. And next thing you know, there's a bunch of people that don't understand motorcycles. They don't know what motorcycles really want to see. And they start fucking filming dumb shit. And next thing you know, you get this watered down version of what could have been real.
Yeah.
You know what 100%.
I mean?
So, no, I'm a champion for you. If you could score a deal like that where you could get to provide content for that kind of world, and they have the money to you know, market it, like, fuck, dude, that'd be awesome. I'd be so stoked for you to get that. You know
that'd be awesome. So I'm like pushing for something like that, and we'll kind of see, because I think it'd be awesome to have, like, regardless of like what they're doing that we disagree with or agree with or whatever, it'd be awesome to like for something like that, whether it's them or somebody else, to like stick around for us to have to watch and enjoy. So like, I don't know.
You need to do something, man.
It just seems like that's the you know, either racing league. I forget both their names, so fuck them. But it just seems it's the epitome of the vulture thing. And everybody's talking about, they'll come in and the vultures are going to come in. The vultures are going to come in. So far I haven't seen that. I see a bunch of dudes that make parts, a bunch of dudes that make money, that do things in the trade. This to me is like vulturism. Like,
no, honestly, you're talking about right now is exactly what happened. It is vulturism. What happened is not to reopen a wound with the people in California that thinks that this side of the country has nothing to do with performance baggers, but performance baggers in 2017, 2016, was growing. It was still very underground. And the next thing you know, guys like Steve Chamberlain came along, fucking Mad Jap Customs, San Diego Customs. Like, there's a handful of people that really created the publicly visual grassroots of performance baggers, right? And then you fast forward till what, 2020 when they decided to do the first race at Laguna Seca. At that point, I'm on my second performance bagger. You know, like, Proper Baggers is going strong. Steve Chamberlain's a fucking household name at this point. And they come out and then they just like immediately latch onto every company in California, and the rest of the country is like, fuck you guys. You guys are followers, right? And we're like, we were all kind of a little butthurt about that, but then we're like, you know what? Well, this is pushing the narrative, so let's get behind it. So we did.
We all gave it the benefit of the doubt. Rising tide, right?
Yeah.
All the ships will rise in time.
And so then what happened is some of the brands that's created products that's been a staple in the performance bagger industry, these new brands that started jumping into, I want to be in the part of the performance industry, started making the same products and started undercutting all the other people that already had products on the market, right? And because now it's in drag, fuck them. They don't have this thing. This is a drag specialty sponsored event. So everybody else is now, like, we all, through the pandemic and everything else, created a fucking bike scene, or a motorcycle culture, and literally the majority of the culture that's carried it is pushed off the table, like null and void, right? I even reached out to BRL when they first announced they were going to be in a thing, and I got left on red. I'm like, hey, look, I've been the biggest fucking voice for performance baggers in the media space since day one, right? And you don't want to come on my podcast? Fuck's up with that, man? Like, it makes you look like everything that every dollar I've spent to make this podcast better, every road trip I did to have a guest on, it's pushed the narrative. You know, like, yes, Instagram is definitely the most prevalent reason why this culture has transferred across the country. But if you watch, I'm too drunk to analyze. How would you say it? Analyze. I was trying too hard. When Craig took over performance baggers on Instagram or on Facebook, there's this whole funny story about us trolling another page and then starting a new page, right? And this new page started at 0. Within like 3 or 4 weeks, it had like 50,000 followers, right? And the amount of people that had become interested in this world are so out of touch with anything that has to do with the way this world has kind of grown, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously this whole scene has grown outside of the bounds of which most of us have came up in it. You know what I mean? Like, some of us here in the Midwest, South, and East Coast would say, like, oh, we had a lot to do with helping it grow. People on the West Coast say, we started it. But there's people all over the country right now, like, I don't know who the fuck started it. I just want T-bars on my bike now. And that's fine. You know what I mean?
You remember that we were from when we left Vic, we stopped at, I want to say it was a bigger gas station. And we saw that older dude. He had a sick road glide, like built up, clean as fuck. There's thousands of dudes of that spread across I guarantee that dude isn't on Instagram all day scrolling through T-bar pages. You know what I mean? If they're not making their shit to me, they're not making it to him. And that's the kind of guy that would support and grow that brand and everything they want. But it just,
yeah.
I don't know. Sorry.
I don't know. Where are we at, man? What the fuck are we doing?
Racing.
What are you doing tonight? You going?
I don't know what I'm doing tonight. I gotta find somewhere to sleep.
I mean, you stay at my house.
I got a truck. I'm gonna back my truck in your shop and just sleep in the back now.
You can sleep in the shop if you want.
Amanda's on an overnight, dude. I got a whole extra bedroom and a couch.
I have zero plans. I gotta be in Austin tomorrow. So
what time are you gonna be there?
I don't have a time to be there tomorrow. Me and Rennie are filming tomorrow. I think he's kind of set us out the day for me tomorrow. I'm gonna get there.
I want to go down there. I want to go down and see the new shop, hang out with him and Cheeks and those guys. You met Robert yet?
No, I'm not.
Good dude. You should hopefully meet him while you're down.
The best.
I've talked to him like once or twice on Instagram really quick, but I haven't like legit like talked to him or met him. So, but no, I'm gonna go down there and like do some filming, maybe get some stuff of Rennie doing shit in his shop so he can really show his shop off and like what he's doing kind of deal. Yeah. And then we're gonna So I want to highlight that with him, and then also like I think we're going to do his Grand Touring FXR he's got. So yeah, should be a good time. So
Well, we should probably cut it off before I start saying the hard R.
I say let it fly, dude.
Thanks for being a good fucking person on the show.
No, who are you talking about? Hard R, Rennie?
I don't know, man. I had fun. I wasn't expecting to run this podcast 3.5 hours.
Be like
no,
that sometimes.
we're good.
3 hours
Yeah.
and 40 minutes. Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
Ben, what do you want to say to get out of here?
I got nothing to say. Tune in, watch my shit if you like it. The subscribe shit. If you like it and you want to see it keep going, you got to support it. Same thing as Jace. Like, if you like what we're doing, then the only way it keeps going is if you support it and that kind of deal.
Agree to that, man. 100%. So
It is, man. It is without blowing you up too much or whatever. It is a great YouTube follow. If you don't already have YouTube Premium, I would recommend it. But it's one of the great things. Dude. It's worth it, right?
how do you not have YouTube Premium and you call yourself an adult?
It's
right
worth
now?
every fucking cent of like the $17 or whatever it is. But yours is a big one, honestly, that I put on at the house, and we'll put it on, and sometimes I'm sitting there watching it, and sometimes I put it on as I'm doing stuff, including the person that lives with me. And honestly, man, she'll stop down. Like we've had episodes on before where she'll stop down and I catch her, looking at it, and it's a great. It is, and I'm not blowing smoke when I say your shit as far as quality. I haven't fully, like he said, I haven't fully watched the Kyle thing, but the little things I've seen of it, dude, it's documentary style. I mean, it's every, I've got nothing but high praise for the Tooling Life guys. That's one of the big things about them is just how their quality. I'm like, dude, fuck Harley. Like, why are y'all not doing their shit? Because y'all's is every bit. And man, I swear to God, you're right up there with those dudes. So kudos to you, man. I enjoy.
You've come a long way.
I enjoy everyone. And like I said, there was a minute where
Can't wait till you tell me that.
I would get the drop it announced. I would watch it like within an hour, and I'm a few behind. I think Hans is the next one I need to.
Hans was good.
Hans is good. That's
Yeah.
it's a great story.
But yeah, they're great, man. So keep killing it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. We got I got a bunch of ones coming out.
Who's coming out next? What's your next couple of drops?
The next, I'm not sure exactly which one will be next. I used to be able to like film them, and it was always in order. And based on like some things I'm doing now, they're going to be a lot of order. I got one with Boosted Brad coming. Obviously, Alex Kirby and his wife Dinah. Then I'll have obviously Rennie, Cody with the race one. Doing one with Texas Hills and that Panhead they're giving away. So those will probably be the next 5. I got to do one on my bike at some point. I'm not in a rush to do that.
How you gonna do that?
I don't know. We talked about Grady wanted to do an interview me, but
Let me interview you.
All right.
I'll interview you.
All right. But I got to figure that
I'll come
out.
out to Grady. Well, fuck, I don't know if I can go fucking.
Well, he's gone in like a week,
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll be
right.
out there. So I'm not in a rush to do mine. Like my channel isn't like a platform to push myself kind of deal. But but anyway, those are should be like the next 5 or so coming out. So
That'd be fun though to do those kind of things. Collaborations is what it's all about, man.
yeah, apparently. But yeah, so that's where we are.
Well, guys, we're gonna go fuck ourselves. So you guys have a great time on the rest of YouTube, and if you want to transfer this to Pornhub, we're gonna leave a link in the description. All right, thanks. I do appreciate last minute. Had a good time. Had to break out this red breast. I love saying that. Red breast. Yeah, fucking sponsor this boy. All right.